government of the student body, and as such, are encouraged to take part in discussion of Senate bills and orders or issues affecting students. Please wait to be recognized by the chair and be courteous to others wishing to speak. Bauer.
Present.
Benzoni.
Here.
Breitbart.
Here.
Birch. Here. Doherty.
Here.
Bisek.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Kaufman.
Here.
Kensler.
Present.
Kearns.
Here.
Nee. Oh yeah, sorry. Lang.
Here.
Lund.
Present.
McCarville. Merle. Osborne.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Clintonburg.
Here.
Snell.
Present.
Turhall.
Here.
Voss.
Here.
Walsh.
Present.
Ward.
Present.
Williams.
Here.
Wolf.
Present.
You received a copy of the minutes from the last 2 meetings, and so are there any objections to those minutes? I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Move to approve minutes. Second.
Okay, so Senator Brown, who had a second? Can I? Okay, Senator Peterson will give that second to you. Is there any discussion about the minutes and approving them? All in favor? I guess you have to call it. Someone has to call it.
You see.
Thanks. Okay, unanimous consent has been called. Are there any objections to UC? The minutes are approved. With that, we'll move into reports. Rules Committee.
Okay. So as you can see, we have a lot of new faces around this little horseshoe that we have over here, and so you can see that from the agenda too. We have a lot of new people that will be seated today, so it's very exciting. Everyone that they all came to Rules Committee even just now, and we sent everyone favorably, so that just based off the rules and all of that. Please feel free during their time when they're up there to ask them any questions that you might have, and then we'll confirm them as a Senate. Also, Rules Committee is going to be trying something new today, and so I'd encourage all Rules Committees to remember this. What we're going to be trying to do, and this was mentioned by our graduate advisor, Mr. Brody, over yonder, and he thought it would be cool if maybe we could kind of go over some of the rules or procedures that we have an issue with during the meeting and find the best forum to kind of go over that with everybody so we can kind of learn from some stuff and kind of work through it together. So we'll kind of play with that a little bit, but if there's any rules or parliamentary procedures that we're kind of having an issue with, we'll try and, I encourage all of the Rules Committee to write down little notes that we can go over in Rules Committee, and then we'll kind of present that to you guys. So if you have any ideas for that, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll probably be trying a few different things just to see what's the most effective for everybody here. Also, let's see. I heard some concerns for the agenda and having a zip file and kind of going through some things and it's a lot of clicks. So if you know any other ways to make that more efficient for everybody, I'd love it if it could be just kind of something that we could scroll through. That would be fine. So if you know the best way to do that, other than me copying and pasting everything, that probably won't happen. I can just tell you. But if there's a more effective way to do it, please let me know because I want it to be really easy and cohesive for everybody. Also, rules will start going over the bylaws chapter by chapter, so that's always a good time. And so please come to rules. Like everyone knows, hopefully, and I guess for all the new senators, rules meets 6:10 in the West Student Office space on Mondays before Senate. So that's all I have for you guys. Have a good meeting.
Can I briefly jump in? I know this is a lot
Yes.
order. If you may notice, there are a couple dance marathon people outside, and there are some more over here. They're doing a thing called Dance Dare, which is part of a video they're putting together, where basically they dance behind people who act like they don't know they're there, and they do it in front of like important people, actually it's the Senate, for example. So you might see some people dancing in the windows out there, but in order to make sure their video is still cool. Please just act like nothing's going on.
Thank you, President Hughes. Are there any questions for Speaker Williams about Rules Committee? Okay, Finance Director Radisky.
Finance Committee met last night at 6 p.m. We went over a couple of bills that you'll see tonight. You've gotten the finance memo this afternoon, but you would have noticed that the account balances are not on the memo, and that is because I was working with Mary this afternoon to figure out what those are. So currently, there is $874.77 in the debt account. There is $1,287.85 in the executive initiative account. In capital projects, there's $5,000 plus X, which is what's going to be reclaimed at the end of the month. So there will be an unspecified amount that is added to that $5,000. That is currently what is there. And then in Senate discretionary, there is approximately $7,555.32. So with that, are there any questions about something you saw in the finance memo? Something that we do see finance bills as soon as we can, so we actually did see the bill that will be first read this week funding Triathlon Club. And we did speak with the club, and we're actually going to see that bill again next week in committee, but go ahead and first read it, because that's what happens here. And I don't see any problem with that taking place. So when we get to that bill, you don't have to say it's tabled in finance, because that's fine. Reading here doesn't really affect that. So, with that, we'll take any questions.
Senator Kinzer.
Mayor, there's Finance Director.
You may.
Finance Director Radisky, I just had two questions. One, in regards to last week's finance memo, there was a bill 14F limiting daily absentee. Instead of tabled in committee. What's the status of that bill currently?
I think that my understanding of that bill is that it was also in the rules at the time.
Okay.
But it may not have been.
Okay.
So I will follow up on that bill. We did not discuss it this week.
Okay, perfect. And then my second question is, also last week it said something to the fact of dates for specials. Have we determined those yet?
I worked with Mary today, and I don't have them right in front of me because I gave Mary the note that I wrote them all down on.
Okay.
But Mary did work on room reservations today, so that's really the main thing that I need to verify that we have rooms to do specials in. So I will have those dates before you finalize them next week.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Are there any further questions for Finance Director Radisky?
Thank you.
Public Relations Committee, PR Chair Bauer.
All right, we got some great things coming out of PR committee this week. The highlight of the meeting was seating Senator Voss as the new vice chair of the Public Relations Committee. So, the big thing we discussed was the retreat that is fast approaching for all new people and not returners, but people that haven't quit yet. The retreat is this Saturday from 11 to roughly 4:30 and 5 p.m., depending on how quickly and efficiently we run. It's looking to be a great time. We'll have a range of activities and informational sessions to help everyone grow as a senator. And then cabinet will also be there, and maybe one person from the Supreme Court. Probably not. It'll be a mystery. But yeah, Senate will be focused on bill writing, Parley Pro type stuff. We'll talk about committees, the outreach, general PR stuff. Finance Director Radisky will be giving a finance overview, because we can't get enough finance and Finance Director Radisky. But yeah, that's kind of the general. GSB will be providing free pizza for everyone. Disclaimer, it'll not be spent on the student fee money. I'll repeat, no student fee money will be spent on this retreat. It'll be spent on money we use from fundraising. So that's that. I'll be sending out an email that kind of details the retreat more, so everyone has a better idea of what will be going on. But once again, this Saturday at 11 a.m., we'll meet first in the gallery room, so that's just one floor above us, and you'll take a right when you get up on the third floor. And then we'll be splitting off into different rooms in the MU. Only 3 people have emailed me and told me that they will not be attending, so I assume that everyone else in this room besides those 3 people will be there. So I look forward to seeing everyone. For the retreat to be effective, we really do need to have everyone be there. I understand if you're not able to make it for some extravagant reason, but if you aren't able to make it, I would love to know tonight so we can plan on food, because we don't want to spend more money than we have to, and for planning for the activities too. But I assume everyone else in this room will be there, and I look forward to it. It will be a great time. We'll make GSB great this year by getting everyone on the same page, so everyone kind of knows what's going on, what their duties are, and how to be an effective senator. Other than that, that's pretty much what we discussed in PR this week. Just kind of an update on Meet Your Government Day 2013 Part 2. Senator Voss and I will be going to the Graduate and Professional Student Senate next week to pitch the idea. We're trying to get them to fund food, of course, because GSB cannot fund food. So we'll be going next week to try to sell them on the idea of that. Once we secure a source for funding for food, we will continue planning the retreat. But like I said last week, tentatively it'll be November 11th, which is a Monday. I think it's the Monday after homecoming. If you have any questions or ideas about that, just let me know. I'll be periodically walking around the room tonight, taking pictures, put on the website, Facebook, Twitter, those types of things. So just ignore me. We do have a new position for the camera, so we'll get that part of the room in at this time. So, are there any questions about the retreat or anything like that?
Senator Kinsler?
Yeah. May I address the PR chair?
You may.
PR Chair Bauer. Are the new senators also invited to this?
Yes, all new senators. Like I said, I'll be sending out an email, I think. Are they on the listserv yet?
No.
Okay. I'll get your emails somehow. And then if you don't receive anything, you can email your respective senator. So for instance, the egg people, you can email Matthew Kearns and he'll be able to set you up with the information, volunteer you right there. But otherwise, I'll try to get your emails to get you informed. But like I said, this Saturday from 11 to 5, just plan on, we'll be meeting in the gallery room upstairs.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for PR Chair Bauer? University Affairs UA Chair Kearns.
All right, so we met last night at 6:10 here in the MU. Excuse me. And we finished with people who weren't able to make it the week prior, brainstorming ideas for the year, and also made a priorities list of which ones we want to get done. We made a short-term priority list as well as a long-term priority list. One of the main things on the short-term priority list, Senator Benzoni has been working with GPSS. They're looking to implement clickers for their voting, so he's going to work with them and see if we can do the same thing here. Kind of work with some of the efficiencies within our own meetings here. We're going to try and do that throughout the year. As well as Senator Flansburgh and Michael Hofer have been helping him with that. Also, one of our short-term goals of the year, Senator Breitbart is going to work on hopefully getting a sidewalk in right across the street from the MWL. If you know where that dirt path is, right where the side ride stops. Yesterday was a very good example where it was just a big muddy mess. So either that or possibly moving the side ride stop back to where there is concrete so where people can get on. And to round out our short-term list is working with the 6A bus route, so that will run later tonight. Excuse me, sorry. Also, then for our long-term goals throughout the semester, we're going to have a meeting with risk management here within the next week or two to get things rolling with them. Really just reevaluate how they run everything right now, because a lot of students have raised issues about that. Make sure that if they do offer things to students that students just don't know about, that we can spread the word about those, or changing things to make it easier for students when they're planning events and other things with risk management, as well as taking a look at student fees and look at how they're paid and maybe seeing new ways that we can use those student fees. So, are there any questions? Meetings should be at 6:10 here in the MU permanently now. I guess that's tentative, but we don't have a room set, but they will be here every Tuesday.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Yep.
Vice Speaker.
Evening, everybody. Welcome to the soon-to-be brand-new senators. Hopefully this is the first of many meetings to come. I'll be brief since I don't want to keep Mr. Pollard waiting back here. The really only thing I have is, as we spoke about last week with regards to the out-of-office hours, I was speaking with PR Chair Bauer here. He is willing to work with me on counting some of your outreach as your out-of-office hour. because that's productive time rather than just sitting in, stomping grounds and doing your homework for an hour. You can do that on your own time, that's fine. So he and I are going to work together. If you have, if you're doing some of your outreach and you want to count it as your office hour, let him know that. There might even, is there a way to do it on the internet too, on the website?
Yeah.
In the comment section?
We'll
Okay.
explain that.
Right, so we'll be working together on that. So all you got to do is just take care of that with him, and all of us, you and I, will be kosher. Please do come to the little retreat we're going to have Saturday. It's pointless for the old timers to go, so those of you who are new, please, please, if you can, come. I don't need to go to it. This is my 5th year here. So you don't need to go. Gabby doesn't need to go. All of us that are leading any of the seminars, we don't need to be there. This is for you guys. So please make it worth our time and come. And that's all I got for you tonight. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Vice Speaker Snow? With that, we'll move into comments from the executive branch.
Nothing right now.
Okay. Mr. Pollard, we'd like to welcome you to take our podium. Mr. Pollard is the Iowa State Athletics Director, so at this time, please close your laptops. We're going to give him our full attention, and yeah.
Well, good evening, and thank you for inviting me to come speak on behalf of the athletics program. I thought what I'd do is share a couple thoughts with you and then be available to answer any questions that you may have about the athletics department. I'd first say to you, though, is congratulations. Congratulations on being part of the largest student body in the history of Iowa State University. Congratulations on being part of Iowa State University at, I'd argue, one of the most exciting times in the history of our institution. The largest institution in the state, yeah, and one of the fastest growing institutions in the nation. Also a job placement percentage right now, 93%, I believe, after 6 months, which is also one of the highest in the country. So that it's just a really neat time to be part of this institution. And I get asked that often by recruits and parents. And what I say is why? It's the culture that we have at Iowa State. Number one, that science, technology, and agriculture right now are what this world needs, and we're providing what this world needs in the way of education. And secondly, the student experience. The student experience at Iowa State, from what we hear from our student athletes, from recruitment to orientation to first day in class to graduation, is second to none. So you're at a great institution at a great time, and I applaud you for being here. A couple things I thought I'd share with you about the athletics department. First of all, about our student athletes. We have roughly 450 student athletes, of which a little less than 200 are on full scholarship. The other 250, so more than half of them, are much like you. They have some kind of scholarship or aid that they're receiving, but then they're paying the rest of it away. So the majority of the student athletes aren't on a free ride. I like to share that with people because I think everyone sees a student athlete and they think, well, someone's paying their bill. That's not the case with the majority of our student athletes. Secondly, our student athletes have excelled extremely well in the classroom. Of those 450 student athletes, we have had a grade point average per semester, 17 of the last 19 semesters higher than the rest of the 30-some thousand students on campus. This past semester, our student athletes had a cumulative grade point average of 294, and the average for the campus was 291. Graduation, this year, or this fall, we'll announce the next round of NCAA graduation rates, and the student athletes will graduate at a higher rate than the student body. Those are two very, very important goals to our athletics program. And we can talk about wins and losses all the time, but the fact that we really want to make sure that they are student athlete and that the student part comes first. As far as the student body, I have to also thank the student body. I mean, what a vibrant environment in the stadium right now. Saturday was unreal. To have that entire student section completely filled nearly 2 hours prior to the game is amazing. That just doesn't happen in other places. And so I applaud you and all your classmates for being part of that, because I've said many times that the student body and our band sets the tone of what Jack Trice Stadium or Hilton Coliseum's like. And, the curmudgeons like me, that are 50-some years old, that like to think that we're really what makes the stadium rock. We don't know what we don't know, because it's the students that make it happen. And I thank you for that, because in a lot of places that's not what's happening, and it keeps people like me young. As far as an athletics program, we As you know, we're in the Big 12, and we still got a ways to go competitively. We've come a long ways over the last 7-8 years, but we still have a tough road to hoe. It's a very challenging league, and it'd be no different than in any one of your majors. When you're up against the best, it's a challenge to exceed. But that's the goal, and that's the type of student athletes that we're trying to attract to our institution. From a facility standpoint, I'll say it because somebody will ask it. What's going to happen with the Code South end zone? I will tell you this: that Dr. Leith is beginning a process of a master plan on campus that speaks to a lot of the issues that are happening on campus right now. Growth. Where are students going to live in the future? How are we going to deal with classroom sizes? Where are we going to partner people? And all those issues are also part of the athletics program. And it's great to have the enrollment. It's great to have season ticket sales that we've had. And I take that problem over any other problem, but it is a problem, and we have to figure out a way to be able to sustain it and grow it, and be able to serve those people that come to campus, both as students or as fans. And we're going to continue to work through that process, but there clearly isn't a snap your fingers and have a short-term fix. So with that, I'll turn it over to you to any questions anybody has of me about the athletics program. Because we're way too kind.
Senator Johnson.
May I address the speaker?
You may.
Okay, so I know this is a little bit of a long shot, but I've noticed, especially this year, but in previous years too, that there seems to be a big problem in the student section with overcrowding because there's no way of patrolling if the people in there are people who actually have the season tickets, who have the student tickets. For example, at the first game of the year, I ran into a group of about 10 people who were clearly under 50s in the student section, and I didn't have anywhere to stand. But you're also not allowed to stand in the aisle. And so I know that lots of times you'll see on these ticket traded Facebook groups that people will be like, oh, I'm selling a Hillside ticket, you can use it, sneak into the student section. And I was wondering if there's anything at all you guys are considering to deal with that, or if that's just sort of an inevitable problem.
Well, it is, as I mentioned, with just attendance, it's a problem. It's a good problem to have, but it is a problem. We talk about it. We have a student advisory group that's made up of representatives of a cross-section of different student groups on campus. And the first challenge is getting students there, and so now they're there. The second part of it, though, is we need assistance from the students to help police their own, because we've tried different ways to monitor it, to try to administer it, and it's a fine line. It's a fine line between infringing upon your experience and also having so many students there and other people in the student section. Well, the ultimate fix, which I hope we don't end up having to get to, is assigned seating. And quite honestly, at most institutions with a student size as large as ours and as vibrant as ours, that's where we'll end up. Spencer's heard me say it at Athletic Council, is if we have to go to those measures, 5 years from now, we did it today, 5 years from now, the students won't know any different. But if we did it today, all of you that are living it would hate. And so I say that not as a threat, as we all have to work together. We also are talking about just the influx of all the students that come up the stairs and try to get into their seats. That's also some safety issues that we need to go back and rethink about how to do that. We went through the issue last year at Hilton. And we've gone through the issues with Hilton over the last 2 years of how do you get more students there, and we've oversold this section, and we figured out how to make it work. So it is a work in progress. We're aware of the challenges.
Okay.
I wish there was an easy fix, but it's fun to be in the student section, and so all of you, like yourself, if you're a fifth year, when you're done, you don't get to come back and sit in the student section. Or you take away a seat of somebody that paid to be there. But that's hard to police. But thank you for raising the issue.
Huh? Yeah, you still
Okay.
awesome.
I just have it as unrelated. But another thing is that I noticed is that we're technically not supposed to bring in bottles of water, but there's also about 4 to 6 water fountains on each side of the stadium. I waited literally 45 minutes in line for my water bottle. Is there any other sort of alternative solution there?
Well,
I'm sorry, I know these are weird problems.
no, they're not. They're good questions. The reality of it is the first time anybody's ever said anything about the water fountains was the first game because it was so hot. In previous years, I've been here 8 years and nobody's ever mentioned that. We have a policy that technically you don't bring any in, but we loosened that policy for the first couple games because of safety issues. But as the season goes on, I can guarantee you, I wish it would stay warm enough that there'll be lines for the water fountains to fill up water bottles. But I'm pretty certain that by November that won't be the case.
Okay.
But yes, we're aware of that. You know, it's also it's a big revenue source. You know, if you go on the other side of the stadium, there were no lines, but that's where all the adults are that pay for the water bottles.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep.
Vice Speaker Snow.
May I address the speaker?
May.
Thank you for coming out tonight, Ms. Pollard. I especially appreciate it. We have quite a few new people tonight, so to have a top-level administrator of the university here, this is fantastic. It's way to impress them, so I appreciate it.
I don't know if I can press them. I'm here.
No.
I may leave and you guys will go, boy, he was way underwhelming.
That's fantastic. I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I've heard talk, I appreciate it if you confirm or deny, about finishing the circle at Jack Trice.
Yes.
If that's true, can you tell us where the plans are for that?
Well, that's what I was referencing earlier when I said Dr. Leaf is just beginning what I call a campus master plan for that quadrant of campus. The reality of it is the seating alone won't pay for it. And the project really needs to be more than our just bowling in the end zone. It's the front door to campus, it's Ryman Gardens, and quite honestly, for us to add any additional seating, we need to deal with parking. And so there's some questions that are being answered or being talked about on campus, and it goes back to, well, where will additional dorm space be? Where is growth on campus? Do the rec fields that are in the floodplain get moved to another part of campus? And does that become parking? There's just a lot of questions that need to be addressed in a master plan that will feed into what do we ultimately do with the end zone. But the end zone won't happen without really significant large private donation, and we're working hard at that, but again, you don't get to decide when someone wants to make that kind of a gift. They do.
What's the number? How much?
Well, it depends what we end up doing. You know, so I think the project in itself could be in the neighborhood of $50 million. And to put that in context for those of you in the room, what that means is if you didn't have any gift and you tried to finance $50 million, that's about $4.5 million a year for 25 years that you have to come up with. And you know, if we doubled, and if we doubled the ticket price, they wouldn't be buying. But if we doubled the ticket price of everybody that sits in that end zone right now, that would generate about $1 million a year. So we'd still be $3.5 million short. So for that, there's no way to get to 4 other than to go 2 + 2, right? I will say this though, I didn't mention it when I was talking about the athletics program too. It's something else I think that this group needs to know, especially new senators. You know, our athletics program, our budget is $60 million. Of that $60 million, 0 comes from the University of the State. So there is a student fee. The student fee, I believe, is, correct me if I'm wrong, $48 or $45 a semester, but it has not increased since the day I arrived on campus in 2005. And that was a pledge I made to Angela Groh, who sat in the chair as president of the student body at that time, that we wouldn't ask for an increase in student fees for a 3-year period. We're now in year 9 of that. $63 a year, okay. It was 45 and it was 18 was the Hilton add-on, right? Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Senator Peterson.
May I just speak?
You may.
Hi, Mr. Boyd. I'm part of a club sports team.
Yes.
One of the sports we practice on the indoor field during the winter. And I was curious.
The indoor, okay, in
Yeah,
league, right? Yes.
in league.
Yes.
And I was curious what your opinion of potentially opening up bird club to select club teams during the winter is.
Well, number one, I would say about that there wouldn't be any, we use that thing sun up to sundown. Matter of fact, with the new football building being built and attached to it, football's even using it more. So we went to a policy where we no longer even have any outside groups, because we used to have the Ames Soccer Club and some other groups that used it, and we went away from that just because our golf teams use it, our track team uses it, our softball team uses it. So it's really not an option.
Okay. I was just curious, 'cause I know Iowa allows like select teams to, or select clubs to,
Right.
and, yeah, just curious.
And part of that was with the league, was why that turf originally went down, because that used to be the indoor football facility. And so when we vacated that, you know, we have access to it during track practice, but then the rest of the time it's the students. Although we co-paid for the building.
In the same thing, is there any ideas to improve that field? 'Cause
The
that means, because I've personally seen
well,
just a massive increase in injuries when we're forced to go inside.
I mean, I'd have to defer that one to campus recreation, because that's not our facility, but that all was new with the flood like 2 years ago. So my guess is that answer is no, but I don't want to be the one commenting on their facility.
All right, thank you.
Senator Piesek?
May I address the speaker?
You may.
Mr. Pollard. Obviously, being a major conference like the Big 12 has benefits, especially for TV revenue and so on, and funding major projects. Are you confident in this ability against the Big 12 right now? Because I know we were on a little bit of shaky ground a few years ago, but right now it seems like where we're at right now is a good place to be. I just want to put that on.
Absolutely, very confident. The industry went through a major transformation over the last several years, and probably about a year and a half ago, things settled, and people locked in with, not to get into lengthy detail, but grants of rights, which lock institutions into their leagues, or the television rights into the leagues. So I've never felt more comfortable about the Big 12, and the reality of it is, we came out of it, we couldn't be in a better position at Iowa State. Couldn't have ever imagined we'd end up in the spot we're in. You know, the 10-member league is, we think, competitively gives us a uniqueness that the other leagues do not have, because our champions decided on the field or on the court, and we get to see everybody. And I think you'll see over time here, the 14-team leagues like the Big Ten right now, that the verdict's out on how that'll play out when somebody could win that league and not have played the traditional power teams. You know, and they'll have to see how that works and how that impacts ticket sales. You know, Iowa's ticket sales are way down, and some of it is because they're not having any of the traditional major teams at home. The other part that's really benefited Iowa State University is the fact that television numbers are the same, but we're divided by 10. So our per share is significantly enhanced, and that's allowed us to do some of the facility improvements that we've done, and allows us to stand alone without any state support. So good question.
Speaker Williams.
May I address our speaker?
You may.
Perfect. Thank you, sir, for coming out. I know we had to figure out a night for you to come, and so I really appreciate it. And like we've already said, all our new senators, I'm sure, are getting a lot of information. So one, I would encourage anybody that has a question to please feel free and raise their placard. It could be about anything for this gentleman over here. Do you think you could update me a little bit about the like the Southwest Soccer Complex and the softball fields, how they're doing? I know they're brand new, and there was a few concerns, I think, with like late night games and figuring out lighting and all that stuff. But how are they doing? How are they being utilized and all that?
Okay, the question is relating to the new soccer, softball, and track complex that was built out by what I call the towers. I know the towers are over here, but I guess that's the West Towers we call that. And was a land swap we made with Campus Recreation, where we gave our former soccer fields, which are over by Lee, that are lighted and irrigated, we gave them that space, and then they also renovated what used to be called the Southwest Athletic Complex. The complex has been awesome. I will tell you, as somebody that had to stand before the neighborhood association, that I'll never be on city council or on school board. So I commend all of you for being senators in our infrastructure as students, because it's a thankless job, and your constituents have all the answers, but very few solutions. And people are very apt to give you answers about what they think you should be doing, but they're not in the room trying to decide. And that was a great example where, you know, the neighborhood, I think, had felt they owned that land and didn't really want the institution to get what we put in. But the facility has been a wonderful addition for our teams. We've also had outside uses on it this summer. They had the State Junior Olympics meet there, and it'll be the future host, I believe, to the state disabled games, and also a future host to the Junior Olympic Regional Championships in 2 years. So we've really been a wonderful addition. And I don't know if anybody here has went out and used the track. We do have it open. And unfortunately, we have experienced some vandalism out there and some people that don't want to cooperate with some of our athletic teams. And we hope we can manage that so we don't have to eventually say we have to shut it down. But those that have used it have really enjoyed using it. Is anybody here to use the track at all? The track? Okay.
Senator Meade,
Mr. Speaker.
you may.
All right, so I know you may have touched on this a little bit already, but so what was the logic behind the switch last year in making all the students at the football games go through Gate 2 instead of in previous years when I was a freshman? I mean, we were able to go through the game if we wanted, and it seemed like it took a lot less time to get into the game. Now when we're all forced into Gate 2, I mean, it seems like the lines are a lot longer. So what was the logic behind that switch?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was 2 years ago that we switched it, but I don't know.
Was it 2 years ago? I remember when I was a freshman, it wasn't that way.
Right.
So, okay.
I'm going to say I wish my ops person was here to give you the specific details. I know that they briefed me on it and
Okay.
I agreed to it. But what I recall about it was one, being able to get all the students into one spot versus having people come in at multiple different entrances when everybody's racing to get to the best seats or perceived best seats.
Okay.
So it was to, number one, give everybody the same chance from the same spot. Number two, be able to allow us to manage when the backup happens, because a couple of the gates that they used to be able to come in, Gate 1 mainly, is also a main gate for us getting people in and out of the building, and at the time it was our team, now it's the visiting team. So putting them all at one gate was driven by that, trying to get it all consolidated. The reality of it, of course, is that's something we've probably got to go back and look at if that's the best gate to come in.
Okay.
Logically, it would seem yes because it's closest, but then you bring in going up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
So we've got to work through that yet. And we talked about that at Athletic Council this week.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Senator Breitbart,
May I address the speaker?
you may.
Mr. Pollard, I was going to ask about the possible allegations against Iowa State University. I read in the newspaper this summer about some recruitment issues, I don't know, overuse of phone calling or something. I was wondering if those were going to have any backlash on the university's upcoming years or if they got cleared or anything.
It was all resolved and there weren't any other additional penalties other than what we self-penalized ourselves 2 years ago. I would characterize it, you have a meeting in here? I would characterize if I was using an analogy, because I did use this analogy in the paper. It would be, all, well, not all, because that's not fair for me to say that. Many of us have probably done multiple rolling stops. Don't come to a complete stop, right? And the reality of it is 99% of the time, you don't get a ticket for it. But the day you get a ticket for it, you did violate it, right? And so you have to pay the price for violating it. But in the big scheme of things, it's really not the worst thing you could do. That's how I characterize, what the issue was. What the issue was is there is a rule that says if you, every call, even a call you don't connect, a drop call, a pocket dial, you have to manually write on your log, that I placed a call or had a pocket dial to Jamie. Never talked to the recruit, but you didn't log it. And so when the NCAA came in, you didn't have a manual log that matched up with 750,000 phone calls that they went through over a 2-year period and found that we had 1,248 phone calls less than a minute that somebody didn't write on a piece of paper. That was a pocket dial. When you think about it in practice, you take Coach Rhodes and he's down in Texas driving in a car, placing calls off his speed dial to recruits, and you can see real quickly how you may miss a couple of times that you don't write down something you didn't talk to somebody. But it was a violation, and so we reported it, turned it all in, and my frustration would be that we spent a lot of money and a lot of time over 2 years, and some other things happen, but I don't need to say, but that it gets looked at for 2 weeks, and then the person flaunts on national TV that he got away with it. So it's a little tough to see the balance, but it doesn't matter. We had an issue, we had to deal with it.
Senator Lang,
Can I just speak?
you may.
I'm really unfamiliar on how you go about recruiting for a school. Can you maybe go over that process a little more?
Well, it varies by sport, but, you know, in essence, you know, depending what sport it is, there's a certain amount of scholarships that are allocated by the NCAA that you can award. And our coaches spend a great deal of time, you know, traveling around, depending on which sport, but traveling around the United States, some internationally, trying to find student athletes that they believe, you know, fit at Iowa State and will allow us to, you know, be able to compete and compete for Big 12 championships, compete for national championships. And it's a tough business because in some sports it's a little more challenging than others because of just the nature of the sport and the demographics. And, but the coaches spend a great deal of time recruiting student athletes to come be student, you know, to recruit students to be student athletes at Iowa State. You know, it's a year-round process.
How do you find, you just go to a random high school and watch a football game to see if someone on the team is good? Or?
Well, again, depends on the sport. You know, in the sport of football, they're going to watch a lot of film. You know, Coach Rhodes won't sign any player at Iowa State if he hasn't personally seen him with his own eyes play. But normally you're watching film that gets sent to you, or there's cottage industries of people that take all that film and sell it. You know, and then you may have other sports like track and cross country where you're looking at results and seeing times and going out, you know, where it's a different kind of recruitment. But the majority of our student athletes are not, we're contacting them and bringing them to Iowa State. Very few student athletes are, you know, I want to be a student athlete at Iowa State, so I'm just going to go be part of the soccer team. Most that think that aren't who we're.
Senator Nee.
So I forgot, I had one more question. This may be a little out of left field, but me and my friends were having this debate. Flyovers, first of all, are there going to be any, or can you tell us, for the football games this year? And will the Des Moines Fire Base closing, I mean, does that have any effect on future possibilities? Like, will we no longer be having any ever?
Two answers. Number one, I honestly don't know what our plans are yet, because I leave that to our marketing staff. And
okay.
A lot of times people ask me, was there going to be a flyover for the Iowa game? And I didn't know, but I've never seen the plane flying around above. Remember, I seen that plane flying around? And I remember standing on the field doing the national anthem, and I saw that plane circling, and I said, I hope there's not a flyover, or we're going to have a problem. Because that plane's right in the flight line. My guess is, the answer to your second part of the question is yes, and I'm going to guess that that's probably going to impact. If I don't know factually, but I'm going to guess that closing and taking those planes out of there will make it more challenging to have a flyover.
Okay.
Senator Kranz.
Yeah, I just want to take a minute to thank you and compliment you on the job that you've done. I mean, right now I think the cycle in athletics has quite the buzz around it. It's as high as it's been, I mean, my memory of my lifetime, which has been fairly short, I guess. But with that, as a former Hawkeye fan and now an Iowa State student, I'm a full cycle fan. And I enjoy going to the games, and as you can see, the buzz is there from the attendance and how crowded that we talked about already. But I think a lot of that revolves around the coaches that we have here and the great staff that we have with Coach Paul Rose and Coach Hoiberg. And I want to thank you for the role that you played in getting those kind of people here to make those programs as great as they are. Enough of the compliments. I do want to ask one quick question. We addressed the horseshoe earlier and filming that South Carolina. And in talks that I've had with some people, they said it was kind of contingent on the success of the team. We've made it to a bowl game a couple of the last years, but getting over that hump and actually winning the game and having a greater than 500 season, they said until that happens, we may not do that. Is that not necessarily true? Is that just hearsay, or does that have some legitimacy to it?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for your compliment. Secondly, thanks for being born again as a Cyclone fan. Winning is one part of it, but it's not the only part. And there's the factors that go into it. I alluded some a little earlier about just the sheer finances of it. So it's going to take a philanthropic piece. It's going to take selling tickets. It's going to take some ability to have the campus buy into whatever we're going to do. And all of that has to come together and then also be sustainable. And one of the things that I'm most proud of as your athletics director is what we've done in the last 7 years. And our budget 7 years ago was $22 million, now it's $60 million. 7 years ago, the state gave us $3.5 million a year, that's $22 million, so roughly 13%. If they were still giving us 13%, the end zone would be done, because that would be about $8 million a year. But we're not getting that, so what's happened is we've gone from 22 to 60 by selling more tickets and having conference revenue. But we've also, during that time, invested almost $110 million in new facilities on campus, athletic facilities that we've funded through athletic operations, and we've done it in a way that is very sustainable. And I don't mean sustainable in the sense of green. I mean it in, I guess I do mean it in the sense of green, and that it's sustainable financially. And I work in an industry that in some ways is a little ludicrous, and we spend money like it's going out of style, and a lot of people make some decisions, including presidents and board of regents, that are all based on emotion, and they're passing a problem on to somebody else. I'm proud of the fact that we haven't done that, yet we've still grown the department and have improved the department. The end zone project, I do not want it to become the anchor that brings the institution or the athletic department down. What do I mean by that is our coaches are paid well in terms of what people make in this world. But in their world, they're way underpaid. And the day that we think Paul Rhodes or Fred Hoiberg or whomever will stay here because of the genuineness of their heart is the day we're fatal and we don't even know it. And so I don't want to be in a position that Paul Rhodes chooses to leave Iowa State because he wants to go and there's greener pastures for him, and I'll drive him to the airport. But I don't want him to go because we couldn't even be competitive in trying to at least counter. And so we haven't locked our hands in a way that we can't still do some other things. That end zone project could destroy everything we built if we don't approach it really thinking it all through, because it's a major, major undertaking. It's half of what we've done in the last 8 years, and we could do it all like that and just bury ourselves. I will say this, though, back to what you referenced about in your compliment. Y'all are living through a generation change. You really are. And it's pretty neat. And you ought to stop and think about it. Because I'm not just talking about athletics. I'm going to tell you about 3 demographics, and maybe some of you have heard this. About 4 years ago, we surpassed the University of Iowa as far as where do Iowa high school graduates go to school. We're now close to probably 20,000. I haven't seen this year's update, but it was 19,000 of our 30-some thousand students are graduates of this state, of high schools in this state. That's more than any other school in the state. Translated, it's more than Iowa. Okay? That's just the way it's said. You feel like you're a little brother, right? So about 1.5 years to 2 years ago, we passed them in another demographic, and that was graduates living in the state of Iowa. There's now 90,000 Iowa Staters that graduated from this institution that live in this state. And Iowa's about 83,000 at last count that I saw. That was 2 major demographics. The third one was this fall, and you guys were part of it, where we're now the largest institution. Okay? If we're the largest institution and we already have more people living in this state, and those that are living in this state are already choosing Iowa State, you can kind of forecast what's going to happen in the future, right? And so, many of you in this room, it would have been 6, 7 years ago, so you may not remember it, but we did something over in Iowa City that rattled some cages, but we put up a billboard that said it was a cyclone state, right? And we did it kind of tongue-in-cheek, and we did it to take a swat at the piñata, because we knew that it rattled the cage. And it did. But now I can look 7 years later and say, wow, it's actually happening. It's happening before our eyes. Okay? It's happening before our eyes. It's not just athletics, it's this institution. It's science and technology, it's agriculture. And it is becoming a cyclone state. And so I always get people in my world that'll say, well, Nebraska's been sold out for this or that. And I always think, I'd love to talk to somebody before Bob Devaney coached at Nebraska to know what it was like. Okay? Well, guys, gals, You're living in an era right now that is changing. And we used to talk about 7 years ago the lost generation. Okay? And the lost generation was a group of students that we lost to Iowa 15 straight years in a row in football. So if you were a student, you weren't worrying about coming to the stadium and having too many people and there being lines for water, because nobody was there, because it wasn't the thing to do, all right? And so when we talked about that lost generation, what we were concerned about was all of you, because 15 years ago, those people now are producing kids. And those kids weren't going to grow up to be Cyclones. And so how do you get that generation back? And so that's the things we started talking about 7 years ago, and it's kind of playing itself out right now before our eyes. And it will over the next decade, that we've made huge inroads to make it a Cyclone state. And so I just say that to you that I'm not certain most people ever stop to think about when they're living through a generational change. You know, they can look back and say, oh, wow, remember, when I started working, there was no internet, guys. There was no internet, okay? There was barely cell phones. That wasn't all that long ago in my world. You guys probably think it's nuts, okay? So I lived through a generation change, but you're living through a generational change at this campus, and so enjoy it. It's pretty cool.
Does anyone else have any further questions for Mr. Pollard? I think that was a great way to wrap it up. And with that,
thank you for having me.
We are now on open. Oh, comments from the executive branch? Okay, we're now on open forum, which is a time for discussion for issues relevant to students. President Hughes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just getting this up. Yeah, it just hit me when I was sitting back here. I was like, you know what, I can just go after the program, then he doesn't have to sit around. Anyway, I figured that would be a long discussion. So. Okay. I emailed out the executive update earlier today, so you might have had a chance to look it over. I guess I'll go through some of the highlights and then take some questions. First up, a few of us have started to work on some ideas for a GSB mission statement. Right now, depending on who you ask, we either do or do not currently have one. I don't think it was ever officially adopted, but it was something that was put together a few years ago. But we want to make it better, we want to make it real. So if you have any thoughts on that, come and talk to me. Also, we're going to have a town hall open to all students about the campus town redevelopment issue. That is yet to be finalized for scheduling, but it is likely to be next week. So definitely keep your emails open and your ears to the ground to find out when that is so you can stop by. I plan to have enough nominees for Supreme Court at next week's meetings that if they are confirmed, the court will be back above quorum, which is exciting so the court can continue business if you like the people that picked. So we'll find out next week. Also, GSB website. If you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out. We have a new template up that was put up last week, but it's now in the polishing stages. So we're going through making sure it looks good. There are still some kinks to be worked out, so please have some patience as we do that. But then on that note, I guess I don't really have a whole lot of patience because there are some things that need to be cleaned up and look pretty unprofessional at this point. And anything that does not look ready for public viewing, I plan to have that disabled on Monday. So that will be taken down until it gets fixed. That will happen on Monday. We really need to get this website going because it's probably the primary way that people connect with us outside of in-person. And then something else that happened tonight, the executive branch is now organized a little bit differently. I created an executive board that creates more bureaucracy, but honestly it will be more efficient this way. We now have 3 departments within the executive branch: the technology department, the outreach department, and the student affairs department. I call them departments because we already have enough committees to worry about, so this is a different word. And what they'll do is they'll work together in smaller groups and cabinet members who are more focused on similar issues. Like, for example, technology includes our director of IT and our webmaster. Those 2 individuals don't really work on the same thing as, for example, our director of sustainability. but yet they sit in the same meeting every week. And I don't really think that's appropriate. So we're mixing it up so they'll have smaller group meetings and be able to work together with people that work on similar items together. That's a new thing that we're trying out. Hopefully it works, and if it does, then maybe it will continue into the future beyond this year, but we'll find out. Last thing I want to talk about, well, not the last thing. I also have a list of scheduled from before and scheduled for the upcoming week, so if you have anything you see on there that you want me to mention or you have questions about, let me know. And just another reminder about the GSB retreat coming up this weekend. Hope to see you all there. Before I talk about the last thing, I don't really know if this is out of order. I don't really care. Can you all put your laptops down? I want to get a little bit serious with y'all right now. I just want to let you know that after last week's meeting, I seriously considered vetoing the line item transfer bill for IC Theater. That was the last bill that we discussed at the meeting. I was very disappointed with how it went. If you don't remember, that bill had zero debate or discussion, and no one commented on the bill other than the person who had the floor to begin with. At the same time, there was a dissenting vote when the bill was sent out to committee. That individual didn't have the opportunity to speak. And in the finance report, the finance director mentioned that he would explain the bill, and he was standing here at this podium to do so, but was also not given the opportunity. I don't think that's an appropriate way to conduct business. I chose not to veto the bill because I didn't think that it was fair to the group and the organization that would be impacted. I also chose not to sign the bill, so I guess it only officially passed as of yesterday when my veto window expired. But I just want to let you know that it's important that if you're going to, last week we spent 70 plus minutes on one bill. Some people think that's excessive. I think if that's how long it takes, then that's how long it takes. You should spend the time on things that deserve to have the time spent on them. But if you're going to spend 70 minutes on one bill, you should spend at least one on another. And that's just kind of how I see things, and in the future I won't hesitate to send something back to you that is handled in a similar manner. So you can put your laptops back. That's all I got. I'll yield to any questions.
Are there any questions for President Hughes? Senator Kensler?
May I address the President?
You may.
In regards to the town hall, could you go into a little more detail as far as what it's going to be about and who's already planning on being there?
Yes, I can. I'll give a little bit more detail about that. The town hall is planned tentatively to be held in the Memorial Union, hopefully in the Great Hall if that is available. It's being scheduled ideally for next week, but that's not finalized yet, so I'm not going to provide a date. Excuse me. And basically what it will be is a panel discussion there'll be a representative from Kingland Systems. We'll also have a representative from Campus Town Students Association. The GSB City Council liaison will be there as well. And there'll be some university administration present as well. There will also be some sort of message from a city government representative. So they will be involved in that process as well. And basically it'll be an open opportunity for all students as well as community members to come in, ask a question to either one member of the panel or to the panel as a whole, and get some information about the project. So it's just a way to facilitate information sharing as well as opinion sharing. Because everyone, whatever comes, the outcome of that meeting and whatever opinions are shared will be taken to the council, and the Kingland representative will be there as well. So really, the purpose is twofold. One is to make sure that the right information is out there and is available to students. And two, it's an opportunity for students to share their feedback about the project with the people who are kind of in charge.
Thank you.
Senator Nee.
Mr. Speaker.
You may.
Are we going to be doing, I know that individual senators have been working with individual aspects of this, like I know Senator Turrell has been working with pizza sales, but it seems like a big, huge problem that has gotten a much larger problem, just in the time that I've been here, is risk management. Starting with last year, them making us pay $60,000 a year for insurance just so student groups could travel without a professor going with them, and like all the new regulations they're putting on, especially with the pizza sales, stuff like that. Like Frederickson Court, they were gonna, in the past, they've always put on a movie every year, and they've always had popcorn. They rent a popcorn machine from Dining Services and make the popcorn. It's not that big of a deal, but now they're having to go through all this event authorization, and they're probably gonna get declined and not be able to do it because they aren't using an author. They would have to pay a Hawthorne employee to sit there and make popcorn. And so, I mean, it's just that organizations are not even, they're at the level where now they're so worried about the paperwork and all the stuff that they're going to have to go through because of risk management that they aren't even trying to do events anymore. And that's what I've heard from numerous engineering clubs as well. So, I mean, is there anything we're doing in respect to risk management to kind of reduce I mean, the overhead that they're putting on student groups, because really, right now, that's what is one of the biggest detractors I see for student groups, for doing events and for being a student group is risk management. They're kind of a thorn in everyone's side.
That's a good point. I think a lot of what you mentioned has come up fairly recently. Like the popcorn example came up at the same time as the food sales example. I think those issues are related with food handling.
I think Senator Kearns would have more information on this topic at this time, if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, and last night in UA committee, like I said, we have short-term and long-term goals for this year. That is at the top of our long-term goal this year is doing a reevaluation of risk management and how and all the services that they offer to students and how they go about that, and trying to make things a little bit easier for students to do that. So our entire committee will be working on that. We're going to first have a sit-down meeting with the Office of Risk Management, just for them to inform us first of how they actually do everything, so that our what we're hearing isn't based on hearsay, we can get it actually from them. If you have any student groups that you have had issues with risk management, please feel free to send them to anyone UA committee or myself personally. And if you want to be involved in that, just talk to me after the meeting. And that's, like I said, that's going to be one of our major priorities this year.
Okay. And then I don't know if you happen to know, if someone else happens to know, if a groups have now, and I'm not going to name groups obviously, but they've come to me and said, well, so if we just have this event and don't go through the process, don't go through event authorization because we know we'll probably get declined and we want to do it anyway. You know, if the group wants to have a small cookout or something like that, what is the punishment? Do you know?
I know that it can potentially include the group losing their recognition with the university.
Okay.
And it's got its
Yeah, that would pretty much be it. Which comes with the whole number of public. If you start going outside of risk management, they'll come back.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure.
Which if you cease to be recognized by the university, you're no longer eligible for GSB funding.
Yeah.
So that's another point.
On the broader issue, I'm glad Senator Kearns mentioned this as well. And actually, this kind of ties back into what Mr. Pollard was talking about earlier. The campus culture here is very unique, and we have something special here that a lot of universities don't. And in some conversations I've been involved with, an administrator's rationale for a certain decision was that, well, we're one of the only schools that does this. A lot of other schools don't do that. I had a conversation with someone from administration who said, well, really, our rules about selling food on campus are very liberal. Most schools are nothing like that. And my response to that is, why is that a bad thing? Why is it bad that we're doing things differently than other schools? It's working for us. And I think that will be part of the conversations that we have as we move forward.
All right, thanks.
Senator Boss.
Thank you, May I address the President?
You may.
When you had mentioned earlier, you said there was on finance that someone voted against. What was the exact name of the bill? I can't remember.
The line on transfer for ICD. Yeah.
Okay, that was me. And I did not object to the question because I felt that almost no one would hold the same opinion as mine. I made a judgment call not to object to the bill. Therefore, it was seconded. I'm trying to think how I'm going to word this. I personally don't necessarily hold to, I feel that when the Senate passes a bill to legally and by procedure, regardless of how short it may be, I still feel that's the Senate's wishes. I see your expressed concern, maybe it was done hurriedly, but I would strongly advise, if you want to take that word for it, against turning over Senate bills based on procedure rather than on merit. And that's the only thing I really have. I mean, if you want to provide.
No, I appreciate you.
Are there any further questions or comments for President Hughes?
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to follow suit on this one.
Go for it, FDR.
Okay, so I'm coming up here to make a comment that's outside of the Finance Committee, which is why I didn't do it in the Finance Director's report. So I am coming to you as an officer of the Senate. I know this semester, more than any other semester, that I've been in GSB, which this will be now my 5th one, we focused so much more on parliamentary procedure, it's not even fun. I came into GSB actually knowing a little bit about parliamentary procedure, but not being an expert. And I think that we need to make sure that we're doing business, and whether we do it by official parliamentary procedure or not, maybe isn't so important, but maybe it's more important that the business we do is kosher. I know that it's important, and it's how meetings run effectively, but it also, when you fight about it, it breaks down the meetings. So that's something I've been witnessing for the last couple of weeks. I've seen the fight over terms, what postponing over tabling means, and I get that those are important distinctions, but when the intent is to use the other one, and that's what's recognized by the chair of the meeting, or that's what's planned, I don't think it's necessarily important what word gets used. I think it's really more important that the intent is clear, and if it's not clarified, then that's something that's important. But I think that we need to make sure that we're not tripping ourselves over one of the tools that we use, rather than, you know, spending our time doing that instead of doing work. So, with that, I really don't have any questions. I don't think there's any questions. This is just me as an officer of the Senate saying, let's make sure we're doing it right. So.
Senator Nee?
I have a question for you. You're on Saturday Board of Trustees, right?
Yes.
Okay. So a couple weeks ago, it was mentioned, talking about the orange route being saturated, and they were talking about ideas for what to do. Has there been any more development on that?
There has not been another SIRIDE meeting since that meeting. Okay. We will be meeting at 7:30 a.m. on Monday, I do believe. If I have it right, it's Monday. So we'll be having a meeting next week where we will discuss. We'll probably venture into that because that's something that SIRIDE is looking at as planning for the future. Because we're, you know, pretty cognizant that enrollment's not going to disappear. So.
Okay.
President Hughes, did you have a comment on that question?
I just want to let you know, I'm a member of a committee that is investigating the SIRIDE Orange Route feasibility, looking at a number of alternatives. Some of the things that have been discussed but then have already been shot down, so don't get your hopes up, are things like light rail system on campus. Yeah, you can imagine the cost. If you thought the south end zone was going to be expensive too. Yeah. But yeah, there's a committee that's working on that because the route can't really get any more buses on it. So we are investigating that currently, and we will continue discussion.
Now that being said, if you have any relatives who have, you know, a couple $100 million to throw around, the coolest one I heard of was like a monorail system that would run above campus. That was the coolest one I heard about, but that wasn't brought through SIRIDE. That was somebody who brought it to SIRIDE suggesting we looked at it. So got somebody with a couple $100 million that wants to, you know, name it after themselves. They can do that.
Well, let me just get out my checkbook.
Do you have questions for? Okay. Did you have a question?
May I address a question for the
Okay. Senator Johnson.
Oh.
Yes, you may address the question.
Okay. This is a totally, this is a totally ridiculous suggestion, but it occurred to me the other day on the bus. There's no way that a double-decker buses on the Orange Route are going to be a good solution, right? I gotta believe there's good reasons, but I had to ask because it occurred to me and I got really excited.
Stop.
Stop.
I don't remember talking about double deckers. So
What?
Actually, honestly though, the double deckers, I'm just totally guessing here, but I'm pretty sure the capacity is similar to identical to the articulated buses.
Probably, yeah.
Like
But it's
the
take up a lot of
buses.
space. This is the where the space is. This,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Okay.
You could have a double decker articulated bus.
That'd be
Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next person in open forum. Senator Voss.
Thank you. First, I just want to make some comments about closing house that I made last week. It's nothing to do with President Hughes' comments and Finance Director Radisky's comments, but I do generally agree with what they have spoken about. But there are 3 points that I do want to make here at open forum. First, I too agree with Speaker Williams. Discussions and critiques on the Senate should be done during open forum. I feel this gives individual time to be able to cool off and to think and articulate what can be done differently in Senate. It should not be done at closing announcements in the passion of the moment. This I do not condone. Second, I will not apologize nor allow for fellow members of the Senate as a whole to be scorned and shamed for following simple parliamentary procedure. This is not immature or a wanton disregard for individuals who want to speak. If I may quote the writer of Robert's Rules of Order, Henry M. Robert, The object of rules of order is to assist an assembly to accomplish in the best possible manner the work for which it was designed. To do this is necessity to restrain the individual somewhat, as the right of an individual in any community to do what he pleases is incompatible with the interests of the whole. Where there is no law, but every man does right in his own eyes, there is the least of real liberty. Now, to quote from the actual book of Robert's Rules of Order, there has been established as a compromise between the rights of the individual and the rights of the assembly the principle that a 2/3 vote is required to adopt any motion that suspends or modifies or limits or extends the limits of debate. If 2/3 of the assembly wish to close the debate without allowing all the time desired by others, they can do so by ordering either the previous question or the closing of the debate at a certain time. Or they can limit the length of the speeches and allow each member to speak only once on each question, as fully explained in 29 and 30 chapter. Now what this says to me is that nothing was done wrong. There is a time when one must assess the situation that they are in and decide to step back for the benefit of the group. Third, there was a concern about possible amendments that could have been made on the asset bill that were not made because debate was not extended and the bill was forced to vote. These things happen and not everyone wins. That's politics. And this is not third grade rec sports. Not every boy gets to go on the court, not everyone gets to swing at the ball in equal time. If you want to see how your local representatives cut each other's throats in meetings and still remain good friends after the sessions watching C-SPAN, you'll find out how an efficient, productive meeting is held. In conclusion, I know what I said was done so softly, and no one is offended and everyone agrees with what I said. But if there is such dissent, I reiterate my points. First, issues on how Senate is run should be brought up in open forum. Second, parliamentary procedure was followed and no member should feel bad about what they done and acted when voting for it to cut off debate. Due diligence is needed, and I do agree with Senator Hughes. There was times I felt at the end we could have sat down and slowed down. But efficiency is needed as well. And we need to find that balance, and I hope we do. And last, sometimes we don't always go where we want. So thank you.
President Hughes.
I just want to thank Senator Voss for referring to me as Senator Hughes, and I mean that in the most sincere
Oh,
way.
excuse me.
It brings back so many nostalgic memories.
Oh,
It really does.
Senator Benzoni.
Yes, we need a lot.
Okay. Senator Bauer.
All right, just word to throw to the speaker and the vice president. If we can get the new logo on the agenda and the bills too. President Hughes has that on his stuff, but make that transition. You can contact him or myself because we have those. Just that, and then also, may I address President Hughes?
You may.
I forgot to ask you this during your report, but is there a plan to make an executive order or something to bring in the new logo?
That was, so, new logo time. It was a soft rollout, as you know, so it's not officially official. But I'm still working through some kinks, for example, with our letterhead that I was having conversations with Mary. And one of the issues is that Printing Services has a template for the letterhead, which is, so let me take a step back. The university has a visual identity system which we follow that provides you certain options for which you want to choose. One of those options is you can use red or khaki, and then another one is you can use either the Berkeley font or the Universe font. You can use caps or not. You have these options, but they're limited. So we made our decisions and we're moving forward with them. The Printing Services template that they have for letterhead, which is what we currently have, Printing Services has some, they made their own decisions as to what they provide, which are different from ours. So I'm working through that right now with Mary and with Printing Services to see how that really works out. But I do plan to make the logo official with an executive order, then ideally have that confirmed by the Senate when the time is right, when we actually can have it official. But it's still in the soft rollout stages, and I anticipate that being probably a long process, knowing some of the red tape around here.
All right.
So,
Thanks. And then lastly, the Traffic Appeals Board, they wanted me to mention, I sit on that. that there is still an open spot for either a GSB member or just a student at Iowa State. It's kind of a fun thing. What we do is we sit in a room with a clicker, and they post all the appeals on a PowerPoint that people appeal their parking tickets, and then we go through and we vote yes or no to appeal them. So it's a pretty good time. A lot of them are hilarious. The spelling's always usually bad, and it's a fun time. We meet every other Wednesday. We met today, and it's from 1 to 2:30. They never go past 2:30. So if you're available every other Wednesday, starting this week mostly, let me know, and I'll get you in touch with Melissa.
Let me know.
Let Hillary know. Okay.
Yeah, because I think I have to officially put this.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Senator Herman.
What happens if like you are on the committee and your parking ticket comes up?
I don't get parking tickets.
Are you just too good? Too sly?
Senator Merle.
Were you on the committee last year for the meeting here?
No.
No, I was going to thank you.
Chief of Staff Reed.
Speaking of committees, actually, I'm on one myself. It's called the Learning Ecosystem Analysis and Review of Needs Committee, LEARN for short. And one of the things that they're working on actually is online learning. Mr. Pollard came here and talked a little bit about it. ISU's kind of in a bit of a changing time, and so is pretty much all the universities across the United States. It's time for us to evaluate online learning to decide how it should impact our classrooms that already exist, and how it should help allow us to reach out to students that we're not currently reaching out to. And so one of the ways that this committee is trying to gain more knowledge about the current situation is by reaching out to faculty, professors, and students across campus to see what they feel their needs are and what sorts of things that they want to see implemented. And so they're going to talk a little bit about online learning, about LMSs like Blackboard, and about clickers like the RF clickers and the various other ways of inputting questionnaires and stuff like that in classrooms. So they're going to have 2 student focus groups. One will be on October 1st at 5 o'clock, that's a Tuesday, and the other one will be on October 2nd at 5 o'clock, that's a Wednesday. I've encouraged all the cabinet members, any of them that can make it, to go to those. I definitely encourage you guys, if you're able to work either one of those into your schedule. It's going to be a duplicate thing, but they will definitely want to get as much student input as possible. If you're not able to make it, reach out to some of your friends and see if any of them would be willing to step in there. And one good thing is that they will have pizza, and so it's not going to be a completely one-sided situation. If you are interested in that, you do have to sign up, so just go ahead and shoot me an email. I'll go ahead and pass that along to the chair, and we'll get you down. All right. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Can you repeat the dates and times one more time?
Yeah, it's October 1st at 5 o'clock and October 2nd at 5 o'clock. That's a Tuesday and Wednesday night. They'll last 45 minutes to an hour max. If you don't have that much time, stop by and get whatever input you can. Otherwise, they are going to be sending out some surveys, so if you just want to do that, answer your email.
Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Reed?
All right, thank you.
Senator Murrow.
Okay, I've had some people very concerned that I might no longer have their size for the t-shirt. They're going pretty quickly, but rest assured, I can work something out. I'll just remind you that this is what they look like. Seriously, if you want a shirt, just let me know. How many is sold? Doesn't matter.
Senator Benzoni.
No.
All right, as many of you know, although some of the new senators may not, I had something of a rant last week at the end of the meeting, and I apologize to both anyone I may have offended, and I apologize to the Senate as a whole for misusing the closing announcement. Before I do leave. That said, I do stand by most of what I said, and would like to briefly revisit a few of those points, as well as addressing something of a solution at the end. My first point, and I believe the overarching point that I tried to make with my speech last week, was efficiency over timeliness. Our positions make us responsible to our constituents to address all of their concerns, and sometimes this simply means that we have to sacrifice some sleep. I know it sucks, I know you don't want to do it, but we are responsible to our constituents to do that. And as such, it is important to make sure that all and any relevant points are discussed. You never know how powerful, influential, or vote or even bill changing a point can be without first at least hearing it. That said, I think it is important to have something of a continuous feel for the room. So we don't want to be wasting time beating, as we so often do, long past horses. So, I will be introducing in the next few weeks a bill to address just these few concerns, and I hope it will be heartily and efficiently debated. Thank you.
Vice Speaker Snell.
Thank you. Since it's speech night, I have a little one. I was inspired a little bit by Finance Director Dan Radisky. Something he said at the end, he said he wanted us to make sure we were doing the work and worrying less about efficiency. And I would simplify that a little bit to just say, let's do work. We have a lot of new people here. And I would like to impress upon you that there are two ways you can go about your tenure on GSB. You can be a Wednesday nighter. You can come sit here for a couple hours and you can raise your placard and you can do your yay and nay thing and then you can go home and be done with it. But there's another option. Hopefully our program tonight gave you at least a little bit of an idea of what your capacity to accomplish things on this campus can be. We have the ear of Jaime Pollard. We have the ear of Tom Hill, Vice President of Student Affairs. We have the ear of Warren Madden, Vice President of Business and Finance. We can get Steve Leith, the President of the university, to come here and talk to us and answer our questions. You can go to his office. You can contact his secretary and say, my name is Barry Snell, I am the GSB Senator. I wish to speak to the President. And if he's not in, I have gone to his office when he's in and I have talked to him. If he's not in, you get an appointment. Now, it's not to say that other students can't do that. Every student here can do that. We have probably the most accessible administration in the university that I've ever seen. Now, granted, I haven't gone to a lot, but I think we can count ourselves lucky that we have this ability. Now, on the Senate, I'm sitting up here because in part, because I know everybody, and everybody jokes that, you know, Barry knows everybody. You can walk across campus with me and I'll say hi to 10 people going, 300 feet. Just tonight, Senator Breitbart asked me who to talk to about in FP&M regarding what Mr. Kearns was talking about with respect to pouring some concrete. I'm not special, guys. I've done the work. That's why I know everybody, because I've done the work. I've accomplished projects while I've been here, and in order to do that successfully, you have to get in there and get your hands dirty and get your feet wet. Just make the appointments, go see people, go talk to people. It is amazing what happens when you have conversations. And in the several years I've been in GSB, a couple in Senate, we have changed considerably as an organization, in part by what I expect is a fantastic senior staff and leadership that we have sitting here right now. And I want you guys that are coming in here to someday, hopefully soon, maybe in a month or 2 or 3, rise to that level that you can say, point at something out on Central Campus and say, I did that. And you can have 33,241 Iowa Staters walk by that same thing and say, hey, that's pretty cool. And you can stand there and you can know that you did that. And then long after you're gone, those things remain that you did. Director Pollard is absolutely right. We are undergoing a change right now. And it is a very cool change. And you can ride that wave, or you can let it roll right over again. You can be a Wednesday nighter, or you can come here, and like Dan said, you can do the work. So I will ask you guys, do the work with me. We can get stuff done. And you can really walk away from here loving having been on GSB. That is what I want for you guys. And I sincerely hope that we can work on that together. And that's all I've got. Let's have a great meeting.
Is there any other business for open forum? Yeah.
We don't want to talk to this guy.
I got just a couple of things here. First thing on my list
Can you
is-
identify yourself for the clerk?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm John Lautner. I'm a junior in MIS and occasional gallery member. So, I'm sure most of you have walked by Lake Laverne lately, and it looks horrible. It's so dirty, and I don't know if there's anything. I talked with Katie Rutledge, who was the chair of the Conservation Club, and she said there is stuff that can be done, but it's kind of time-consuming / motivating FP&M to actually do the things that need to be done. Lake Laverne's probably one of the, well, at least with the swans on it, one of the most notable icons of Iowa State, and it really doesn't look good right now. I think that there's some motivating that needs to go on, and I think as GSB senators, you guys got some pull. So that's one thing. The other one is, President Hughes said it, they were talking about the bureaucracy, the risk management that was going on with clubs going on. As far as clubs, at one point I know there's hundreds, there are hundreds of clubs on campus, and there's more and more every year. But we are recently seeing it harder and harder for clubs to do the business that needs to be done on campus to recruit members and such. Or to do, whatever the advocacy is that they're trying to do, whether it's sell pizza or pop popcorn for the Freddie Court stuff. I'm the chair of a club on campus, and I know it is pretty hard cutting through some of that red tape. And yeah, I think that that's one of our things. Getting new members or new students to come to Iowa State is that we do have such a student life with our student organizations. There's a club for everything, almost everything. But we're almost discouraging it by making it so hard for clubs to do the business that needs to be done. So that's that. And then my last point here was, I'm in a class where we are using, the teacher wanted to not make us use clickers. And in doing that, she used a program called Top Hat Monocle. Okay, I'm assuming, have you guys talked about that? Okay, yeah, I just wasn't happy because I already owned a clicker and I had to pay $20 for the...
We can talk.
Okay, okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Is there anything else for open forum? Okay. We're now on, in special orders, so we're on Senate Order 2013-2-032 SD, seating ag senators.
Right. Senate Order 2013-2-0-32, titled Seating the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences Senate. Whereas the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences constituency has 2 open Senate seats, and whereas the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences Student Council has nominated Molly Foley and Jake Baker to fill the seats, be it therefore ordered that Molly Foley and Jake Baker be seated as senators representing the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and be it further ordered that Molly Foley and Jake Baker immediately assume all rights and responsibilities of a GSB senator as delineated by government law. You guys want to step to the podium? They'll be willing to take any questions you guys have.
So at this time, if you have any questions for our nominees, now's the time to address them. Yeah, if you just want to give a brief introduction of yourself, what got you interested in GSB, go for it.
Sure. Hello, Senators. My name is Molly Foley. I am a senior with a double major in agricultural communications and public service and administration in agriculture with a minor in political science. I've made the comment, I actually was in the gallery last week here for your meeting, and I made the comment that I do regret not getting involved in GSB sooner, now being a senior. I grew up on a farm just outside, about 10 miles south of here in Huxley, Iowa, right between Ames and Ankeny. Always had a passion for agriculture. As I came to Iowa State, I got more involved in learning about public service and public administration. So actually this past summer, I interned in Washington, D.C. with Senator representing the state of Iowa, and got very intrigued in public service and the realm of the United States Senate. And coming back to school this year, realizing that there was an open Senate seat in the College of Ag, became interested in filling that position. So I stand before you tonight, looking to fill one of those spots.
Greetings to all of you. I just want to say how thrilled I am to be here. This is pretty new to me, actually. I was a little involved with the Iowa State Ambassadors last year, and that was great. It kind of got my foot in the door for stuff like this. But it seems like from watching you guys speak and listening to you guys speak and just watching how you go about your business, there's a lot of passion in this room, and it just seems like a great thing to be involved with. And I know it's going to be a very rewarding experience. And it's a little overwhelming here seeing what you guys all have going on, but I'm so thrilled to jump into it and just get to work. So a little bit about myself. I'm a senior in animal science. I just applied for vet school, and I'm planning to go to vet school, whether it be Iowa State or University of Minnesota. And I grew up on a small cow-calf operation in southern Minnesota. I've always been extremely involved with agriculture, so I came here. I absolutely love Iowa State. I haven't regretted anything, any of my decisions to come here. It's been amazing. So, yeah, if you guys have any further questions, like I said, I'm extremely excited to be here. I can't express how much I'm going to enjoy this. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for our nominees? Senator Kinsley.
I think they're all great nominees. I guess I do have a question. May I address the nominees?
You may.
Have you all been made aware of the rights and responsibilities of being a senator?
Yes, we have.
Okay. With that, I will call the question.
Second.
Question has been called and seconded, so what that means is that we'd like to close the floor for discussion and move into voting. UC stands for unanimous consent, and so that means that everyone agrees to pass the bill. So, is there any objection to UC? This passes. Congratulations. We are now on Senate Order 2013-2-035 SD, seating LAS senators.
Title, seating a liberal arts and science senator. Whereas the liberal arts and science constituency has one open senate seat, whereas the LAS council has nominated Ahmad Abbas to fill the open seat, be therefore ordered that Ahmad Abbas be seated as a senator representing the liberal arts and sciences constituency, and be it further ordered that Ahmad Abbas immediately assume all rights and responsibilities of a GSB senator as delineated by government law. And he's starting his podium. I'll turn it over to him.
First, I want to thank everyone for their time and the LAS College for nominating me. My name is Ahmad Abbas. I am a junior in political science. Some of you know me from seeing me in some of your classes or just across campus. But I'm just going to keep it short and tell you why I want to be in GSB. I want to be in GSB because I want to be involved in all aspects of student life and student government and help improve this campus because I've seen what it's done. Barry walked me through a couple times of what GSB is actually capable of, and I was very impressed. And I'm looking forward to the next couple of years, the next 2 years, hopefully in the future, of being in GSB. And I've seen some of you how act as a leader. Some of you have acted as leaders, and just from my interactions with you, and I would like to become some sort of similar to you guys. And I think GSB is the proper way for me developing into that kind of person. So I look forward to working with you coming year. Thank you.
At this time, are there any questions for our nominee? Senator Johnson.
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to request a point of personal privilege to add my name to the bill.
Are there any questions for our nominee? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Barry's going to explain what just happened.
We're kind of, since there's so many new people here, we're kind of doing step-by-step, play-by-play here. What we've just done is a procedural move. It's called a personal privilege. It's it's a privileged motion in Robert's Rules of Order, and it is one of those things it's not interruptible, it's not debatable. It is something that every individual in here can make and not be questioned about. In this case, Senator Johnson requested personal privilege to have her name added to a bill because ostensibly you are the LAS senator and this is also an LAS candidate. Right, so this is a move of support. On any bill, for example, if you support the bill, you may ask for a point of personal privilege to have your name added to the bill, and we can do that. There are a few other ones, but you'll learn as you go.
Thank you, Vice Speaker Snow. Are there any questions for our nominee? Vice Speaker Snow.
May I address the nominee? Ahmad, between the Rules Committee and all of my lectures, have you been made aware of all the rights and responsibilities of a GSB senator?
I have, yes.
Great, thank you. I'm glad to have you aboard.
Speaker Williams.
Just so we can save that, all of the senators here have been made aware of the rights and responsibilities of senators, and they spent, I was going to mention this later, but they definitely spent a good hour with us. And so week of the speeches is definitely what this may be deemed, so just for that. You'll not and I also, sorry.
Senator Walsh.
Being that you understand the rights and responsibilities of being a senator, I will call a question.
Second.
Question has been called and seconded.
UC.
UC has been called. Is there an objection to UC? This passes. Congratulations. Senate Order 2013-2-036 SD, seating IRHA senators.
Titled Seating IRHA Senators, whereas the Inter-Residence Hall Association, also known as IRHA, constituency has 3 open Senate seats, and whereas the IRHA has nominated the following individuals to fill these open Senate seats, be it therefore ordered that Samuel Schulte, Daniel Nygaard, did I say that correctly? And Megan Sharp be seated as IRHA senators, and be it further ordered that the above individuals immediately assume all rights and responsibilities as a GSB senator, as is in government law. I will turn it over to candidates if they'd like to the podium. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Right, hello everybody, I'm Megan Sharp. Sorry I don't have much of a voice right now, but long weekend at the game, but so yeah. I really just kind of like the whole idea of politics and everything, and that's why I wanted to kind of jump in. Oh, I'm a freshman, by the way, majoring in marketing and management. And as a freshman, I wanted to like kind of get a head start and like jump in early, kind of learn the ropes, and hopefully someday kind of be like what I've seen here. You guys seem like you really know what you're talking about, and I kind of want to make a difference here someday, so I want to start young and build my way up.
Hi, I'm Danielle Nygaard. I'm a freshman and majoring in political science, and I just really enjoy looking forward to getting involved with GSB, being able to make a difference on campus and being able to help out fellow students with whatever it may be.
Hi, I'm Sam Schulte. I'm a sophomore in Agronomy and International Studies. I come to Iowa State actually as a transfer student. This is my first year here. And as a transfer student, I wanted to make sure that I make the best of my experience here. It was a difficult decision to transfer, and so I wanted to make sure that I got involved as soon as possible. I'm also not sure if there's a large contingency of transfer students involved with GSB, but I definitely want to help serve as a voice for other transfer students and to help them become as well integrated into Iowa State as they can. And as an IRHA senator, I think that the residence halls are a great nexus for student connections and student growth. So I'm hoping to create connections between IRHA and GSB to help not only transfer students, but all students at Iowa State have a great experience in the residence halls.
Are there any questions for our nominees? Senator Kensler.
Call the question.
UC.
Question has been called and seconded. UC has also been called. Is there any objection to UC? This passes. Congratulations. Senate Order 2013-2-037 SD, seating UROC senators.
Senate Order 2013-2-037 SD, titled Seating UROC Senators. Whereas United Residents Off-Campus Constituency Council has 2 open seats to the Government and Student Body Senate, and whereas UROC has selected Sabina Grenadorova and Michael DeBates to be representatives of the GSB Senate, be it therefore ordered that Sabina Grenadorova and Michael Debates be seated as a GSB Senator representing UROC students, and be it further ordered that Sabina Grenadorova, your name is too long, and Michael Debates immediately assume all rights and responsibilities of a Senator as delineated in governmental law. And before I turn it over, I just want to say, unlike when I stood before you and read a seating bill for Mr. Voss, I'm actually happy to have these guys. We've interviewed these two. That's a joke. Mr. Debates and Ms. Grenadorova here have solid resumes. They're both really involved on campus here. Mr. Debates has an internship with the athletics department. He's in deep there. Ms. Grenadorova has actually been here as a student before us before. She is the vice president of the Russian Student Speaking Association, and she is an international student. So she will be our first one for the year, so that's great. And I will now turn it over for them to speak on their own behalf.
My name is Michael Bates. I'm from Shelton, Iowa. It's a small town in northwest Iowa. I'm planning on graduating this spring with a degree in journalism, PR emphasis, and a general business minor. As Senator Snow was saying earlier, I have an internship with the athletic department. I feel like I bring a unique perspective to the group because of that. The past 3 years, this will be my 4th year this year, but I intern with athletics communications. We handle all the PR for all the sports and everything. And the past 2 years I've been with the wrestling team, and it's just been a really good experience. And I've traveled all across the country with the team and whatnot, and yeah, like I said, it's just been a really good experience. I wanted to get involved with GSB because government is something that's always interested me, and I kind of believe it's our civic duty as young Americans to be aware and know how government works, both at state and national level. And I just thought it'd be cool and be a really great experience to get involved somehow. So that's why I'm here.
Hi everyone, my name is Sabina. Thank you for introducing me. I'm an international student. I came here actually 4 years ago from Russia, but I was born in Uzbekistan, which is post-Soviet Union country. Then traveled to Russia, lived in Russia, now in the United States. So I have quite a lot of intercultural background, and I also have a lot of international friends. So I'm hoping to bring to GSB international perspective, connect international students to GSB, representing them, hopefully kind of be that bridge between. I'm excited to be here. I thought GSB is a great opportunity to self-improvement and to improvement of all the students overall, and connections and power and leadership opportunities is amazing. So I'm really happy to be around you guys.
Speaker Williams.
Yeah, they both seem very qualified. I just wanted to mention to the Senate that the reason that usually our seating bills go pretty fast, or that we'll call UC, is because the councils are the ones that really have the whole nomination process, and it can be followed in any way that they would like to nominate the senators that are being presented. And usually they're very qualified. If you see any reason not to, or if you want to question, as maybe Voss does, about like process, considering it was this guy who nominated them,
should definitely question it.
Please do so. But don't be shy or feel like, oh, well, this just seems procedural, so we'll let it go. Please speak up if you want to. But you guys both seem very qualified, and so I'll yield with that.
Senator Voss.
Thank you. May I address the nominees?
You may.
Ms. Sabina, I can say it well, Grenadorova? Yes. But I can say, Senator Grenadorova. I must say, for the team, we stated in the last meeting, I think for quite some time, we didn't have to be here. You showed quite a bit of wanting to be involved. I must say, I commend you for that. And Mr. Bates, I'm glad to see that you'll be on the Senate here, possibly sitting in one of these chairs, probably next to me if you like. And I'm sorry, Vice Speaker Snell, maybe you lose the last bit of hair you have. With that, I call the question.
UC.
Question has been called and seconded. UC has been called. Is there any objection to UC? This passes. Congratulations. Senate Order 2013-2-038 SG, seating members on Rules Committee.
Senate Order.
It's the second read, so you don't have to read it. You just read the title. This is for,
You did say 438, right?
Yeah. Pretty.
this is Robert's rules, like it should be on the agenda.
See, guys, for the new people, we messed up too.
No, but staff has seating members on most committees.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, I can read it while we're doing that.
Got it.
Reason for the confusion, on a seating bill, or any bill, the first person at the bottom, as you can see, is Ms. Williams here. I'm number 2. As she was occupied, I am able to do this, and sometimes we switch, so that's why you'll see that happen. Senate Order 2013-2-038SG, titled Seating Members of the Rules Committee. Whereas bylaw 7.5.3.2.2 requires the Rules Committee to be composed of 5 senators nominated and seated by Senate, and whereas the Rules Committee has 1 open seat, be it therefore ordered that Senator blank be seated as a member of the Rules Committee, and be it further ordered that the above mentioned senator immediately assume all rights and responsibilities of their position as delineated in government law.
Speaker Williams.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. You think if you read the agenda, you know what it says. So this is for Rules Committee. We have an open spot on there. We usually have 5 senators, and so obviously now we have 4. So I just kind of want to go over what Rules Committee is. Essentially, it's knowing the bylaws and knowing parliamentary procedure and kind of going over bills and making sure that they're cohesive with all of our bylaws and our Constitution and state and federal laws as well. It's a really cool opportunity to really understand kind of the inner workings of GSB and why maybe somebody would propose a motion or why somebody would propose a bill and see where it's supposed to be put, or making sure that there aren't any loopholes that our people are going through. It's definitely plausible that after reading the rules over a few times, there's definitely things that people could do that you're like, yeah, that maybe shouldn't be that way. But so it's interesting, it's fun to find out, and it'd be just like laws for anything. Also, it's really awesome because it's a pretty laid back meeting that we have. We're usually just down in the West Us, and obviously we're awesome, and so you just get to hang out with us, which is plus. And then you get to see the bills that you hear, in first read, and you look over by yourself, but we really actually see or talk about some of the bills that are coming up. So it really gives you kind of a better way to prepare for Senate and just kind of be a more informed senator too. So you know what the bills are, maybe what some of their flaws are, or anything like that. So it's a really cool committee. We go through the rules as well, and we look at contracts, and we look at like the disciplinary handbook and all that jazz. And so we try and spruce it up a little bit. We definitely have a little bit of humor to go around to make sure that it's fun too. So if that's something that really interests you, please let me know. As we've already told all you guys, for new senators, because you know your rights and responsibilities as senators, we've already gone over this, but you are required to sit on 1 committee. This is one possibility for you guys to sit on. Also the other university committees and some of our other internal ones, but if this is something that interests you and you don't have a committee, I would really like to see a few hands go up. Actually, I'll ask all the new senators and then other senators who don't have a committee to be on to probably ask your neighbor or anybody to nominate you for this position, so you just can have anybody nominate. And so what we'll do is we'll open up the floor for nominations, which is actually the motion I'm going to propose at this moment. And then we'll go through, and if you'd like to be nominated, like I said, please let somebody know. And we'll have the nominations, and then we'll kind of go through the process together. But as of right now, I'm going to open up the floor for nominations. So.
Point of information to the chair. Is Rules the only committee that has an open seat right now? Well, you have open seats? How many?
As far as I know, University Affairs doesn't have a limit on how many
I don't think
that we can have. So
Also.
Yeah.
Senator Kensler, will you please address the question regarding, or did you have?
No, you can.
Okay, go for it. Whatever. Is the floor open for nominations?
It is.
I was just gonna say that there's also a whole bunch of university committees that probably need seats too.
And they know that, right?
Well,
Okay, the floor is open for nominations.
Is there anybody that would like to be nominated for this?
Senator Kinsler.
you can also nominate yourself. You don't have to have.
Sure.
nominate you.
Senator Johnson.
I'd like to nominate Michael Plattenberg.
I accept.
Point of information.
Yes.
Does Senator Platenberg have a committee assignment yet?
Vice Speaker Snell just asked me if Senator Plantenberg is already seated on a committee, and yes, he is already seated on a committee. So you're Senator Bauer.
I'd like to nominate Senator Schulte. Is that right? Okay. Do you accept?
When does rules be meet?
Oh, that's a good one. Can I?
Okay, I'll have Speaker Williams please address when Rules Committee meets. Yes.
Okay, rules meeting, or like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we meet at 6:10 on Mondays, every Monday, and down in the West Student Office Space in the Memorial Union. And just so you know, you can always respectfully decline as well.
I'm busy at that time, so I'm going to respect it.
Senator Kinsler.
I'd like to nominate Senator Voss. Yeah.
I think it's
No, sorry, Senator Voss.
Can you please say your last name so I pronounce it?
Abbas.
Abbas. Okay. And okay. Senator Voss.
Yes, I have troubles here. I move to close the floor for nominations. If someone don't second, if you don't want it. Motion guys.
I'll second.
Is there only one spot open?
Yes.
And we just filled it?
We have 2 nominations.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody withdraw? Or you want to stay?
Okay. The floor. Do we need a second to close it? Or we got
I
a
second.
We need to vote on it? Okay. The floor has been closed for nominations. We have 2 candidates, Senator Plantenberg and Senator Abbas. Please limit your side conversations. Senator Plantenberg.
I would like to respectfully withdraw and just be the favorite gallery member of Rules Committee.
Okay. Senator Plantenberg has withdrawn his nomination. We now have 1 nominee, Senator Abbas. Senator Kinsler.
May I address a question to the nominee?
You may.
Or question, I should say. Senator Abbas, I have a couple of questions for you. One, what is your current year?
I'm a junior.
Okay. And so every rules committee member usually gets asked this question. Do you see our rules as black and white or shades of gray?
That question.
Yeah.
Please.
I've seen the shades of it in the hall.
Okay. There's no right or wrong answer, so it's not true. I think he's a great candidate. I yield.
Okay. Vice Speaker Snell.
As I know Mr. Abbas is qualified, I just want to address a question to former nominee Plantenberg.
Yes, you may.
Are you sure you want to withdraw, Michael? Because no pressure. You can stay in the running. I don't want you to feel like you're getting shoved out just because you have a committee assignment. We can't compete against each other here.
I'll unwithdraw.
Stay out, okay. Just want to be sure.
Can we do that? Can he unwithdraw?
Didn't he, you said, you want to stay out, right?
No, he wants to be here.
Okay. Yeah, we can open the floor for nominations if we want to do it procedurally or not. It doesn't matter to me.
We are not going to do it procedurally. This is quicker.
Right, same question?
So you're pretty sure that is what's been done.
Okay.
So just to keep things going, that's
Okay.
just the best thing to do.
Okay. We now have two nominees, Senator Plainberg and Senator Abbas. Yes. Vice Speaker Snell.
Okay, so now since we have some competition, I have to distinguish between you two. Mr. Plainberg, may I address the senator from Campustown?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. Plainberg, in light of your other seating, or other seat on a committee, why rules? What distinguishes you? Why do you want to be on the rules committee?
Well, Rules Committee has been something that I've semi-regularly attended in the previous semester, and I've always found the rules and how we operate to be very important and very interesting. I actually have read all the bylaws, maybe not like last night, like maybe I should have, for this, that way I can just quote all the best ones. But I've seen on some other organizations that I've been involved on, I've seen how some rules weren't exactly followed right, and how the organizations may not have been as good as they could have been, and I want to prevent that from, well, I don't think that's happening, but I want to help be part of making sure that never happens on GSB.
With your fairly extensive knowledge, were you done?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. With your fairly extensive knowledge now of the bylaws, having been a senator for quite some time, what would you like to change?
Well, I've heard some discussion in the past couple of weeks. I don't know if we necessarily need to just change things for the sake of a one-time thing, but one thing that I've been thinking about is when we table things indefinitely, that I just thought of like today, perhaps maybe that they must come up for a vote at the last meeting of the session. That way we have to at least talk about it. We can't just shove it away.
Okay.
That's just one thought.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. May I address Senator Abbas?
You may.
Our newly minted senator. I'll ask you the same questions. Why rules? Why do you want to be on our committee?
Because the Rules Committee can make these meetings more efficient and just be more efficient. I think the Rules Committee can help make these meetings more efficient by taking out certain roadblocks, or even adding some stuff that could be helpful towards GSB as well. And that's why, to be honest, I think, obviously because I'm a new senator, I don't know all the rules yet, but I think, like I consider myself a quick learner, I think I can use that.
Yeah, not knowing the rules, don't let that hold it again. I mean, we all weren't on the rules committee before we got on the rules committee either, so it's fine. It is a bit of an unfair question. I apologize for asking Plainberg, because I can't ask you that, so I'm sorry. I guess I would ask you though, is a candidate for rules committee though, you kind of basically know what we do. You know the rules committee, you've been to one now, and you know essentially what GSB does. What kind of role would you like to function as in the rules committee? If you have any ideas, pitch them out there too.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think for ideas wise, it's not really my idea. I actually heard it off you. The office hours. I think that can be pre-consensus. Really, no one visits. GSB senators' time to be used more efficiently, considering some of you are very involved, and you can be involved in those other committees or other aspects of student government that you can use the time from office hours instead. But that's something to visit if I, of course, not approved. Steve does as well. I hope you guys visit that issue. And regarding the role of what I would play in the Rules Committee, honestly, since I do consider myself new and still have some stuff to learn, I would consider myself just someone who can offer a different opinion at times, and who will be never afraid to speak it.
Great. Thank you very much. I yield.
Senator Kinzer.
May I address the nominees?
You may.
This is a question for both of you. As a Rules Committee member, we do try to make it fun, our meetings, because they can get a little dry with going over the bylaws and contracts and things like that. But every once in a while we do have serious infractions of governmental law. We do have, on occasion, have full disciplinary hearings. Can you be both those people? Can you be the fun person that wants to come to meetings and make a good time of every Rules Committee, but also be serious when it needs to happen? Whoever wants to go first.
Senator Abbas. You looked ready to talk, so.
Regarding last question is, just like saying, personally, I'm very excited about being part of GSB. So I think I can provide enough, extra energy for those meetings. Not that he cannot. I'm very similar person. I've never actually met him. And could you actually repeat your other question?
Yeah, so basically what I was getting down to is every once in a while, issues will come up within GSB, and people will be very passionate and want to take action right away. But can you kind of step back from the situation and approach it as more of a calm and cool-headed and talk the issues out, if that makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. I do think so. And for sure, if you ask Barry, I've had many conversations with him, he'll tell you I'm a cool-headed person. I don't actually get riled up hardly ever. I try my best to stay cool and just listen to everyone and their opinions and then make my own judgment.
All right, so I do believe that we can have a little bit of fun when we do this. Obviously I've stuck around this long, so I think it's a little bit fun. But there are times to be serious, and I'm definitely capable of doing that. And I approach most issues that we do in GSB seriously, even if I do have a little bit of fun doing that.
Are there any further questions for our nominees?
I missed out on your first question, Mr. Kinsley.
What was the first question?
Senator Kinsley, your first question was whether or not.
Oh yes.
The
black or white or gray.
I think that it is kind of a gray area. I think that there are some areas that are black and white, such as if there's something that says clearly do not do this. But I think overall it's kind of a gray area that we know what the meaning of the bylaws are, and it acts in that general way, even though it's not maybe specified. So great. Great, yeah. I just didn't want to say great.
Okay. Are there any further questions for our nominees? Senator Kearns.
Seeing no further questions, I call the question.
Jared?
Yes. So, Senator Kearns, would you like to make a motion to have them leave the room so we can have discussion?
I'll make a motion to have both Senator Abbas and Senator Salisbury leave the room for you guys to discuss.
You guys just get to watch the tape later.
Okay, we are now discussing the candidates while they're out of the room. As procedural, just so you kind of know what's going on, they're out of the room, we'll have our discussion. When they come back in the room, we'll no longer discuss the candidates, and we'll vote on whose name should fill the blank. So essentially that voting process will work like me saying your last name, and then you'll say the last name of the senator who you want to fill this position. With that, we'll begin discussing the nominees. Senator Turhall.
So I have nothing but respect for Senator Plattenberg. He's a great guy and does a lot of good work. That being said, I believe we should give a new senator a shot with Senator Navas, and I would urge that we choose him as our candidate.
Senator Lund.
I also feel the same way as Nick, actually. I am good friends with Plattenberg, but I know at least one of my goals for the Rules Committee was to try to see how we can make these meetings more efficient, and I think a fresh pair of eyes would be one way to do that. That's all.
Senator Lund.
I think that it would be a good way for the new senator to learn the rules is to be on the rules committees. And the first set of that, like Senator Lund said, but I think Plattenberg does know the rules. He's been here a while. He knows how things run. I think it'd be good to give Senator Lawson a chance and help him learn the process.
Senator Bauer.
I will move to bring the candidates back in.
Second.
Object.
Okay, Senator Johnson.
Just for the sake of fairness, honestly, I see the points on Senator Voss. But I think that also there's something said for Senator Plentenberg, who has a lot of experience and knows his way around the rules, and there are plenty of other committees that new senators can be on. Yeah, I don't really have less to say. I think the other case is good, but we would be remiss to vote without having considered the other side a little more thoroughly.
Speaker Williams.
Just to speak up for Senator Plettenberg as well. He would be a great asset. I think both of them would be. I do know that in the future there may be some reworking of the rules, and so we will need some people that know what they are. So I think it's awesome to have someone that would be new on there, but for the benefit of the Rules Committee as well, please take into consideration it's always good to have somebody that has been here a while and that would know the rules to kind of help us through that process in the future as well. So please take both of them into consideration. And with that, I would move to bring the senators back in.
Second.
Can someone please grab the candidates? Thanks, FDR. You're awesome. So the reason, just so everyone knows, that we call him FDR is he's Finance Director Radisky, so that comes out as FDR. So it's a fun time.
That was mine. You got FDR, I got some.
Okay, we'll now move into voting. So please say the last name of the senator whose name you want to fill the blank. Abbas? And I will. Yeah, you can abstain, Senator Abbas. I'll let you know that. It's just your name is alphabetically at the top of the list.
You can vote for yourself.
You can vote for yourself. You can vote for Plettenberg. You can do whatever you want.
I'll abstain.
Okay. Should I be telling you? Sorry. I'm gonna read names and you just. Okay. Sorry. Bauer.
Boss.
Benzoni.
Boss.
Breitbart.
Lindenberg.
Birch.
Plettenberg.
Doherty.
Boss.
Debates.
Plettenberg.
Fiesick.
Blanford.
Fitton. Oh, sorry. My bad. Greta Darova.
Abbas.
Herman.
Boss.
Johnson.
Abbas.
Kaufman.
Boss.
Kensler.
Abstain.
Kearns.
Abstain.
Nee.
Boss.
Lang.
Plettenberg.
Lund.
Abstain.
Merle. Sorry, who's out of the room? Nygaard.
Plettenberg.
Osborne. Parkinson. Oh, sorry. Peterson.
Abstain.
Plettenberg.
Abstain.
Schultz. Is it Schultz or Schulte? Schulte.
Abbas.
Sharp.
Abbas.
Snell.
Abstain.
Turhall.
Abbas.
Boss.
Pass.
Walsh.
Pass.
Ward.
Plettenberg.
Williams. Wolf.
Weinberg.
Baker.
Blanford.
Foley.
Abbas.
Voss.
Plettenberg.
Walsh.
Boss.
Okay. So how many people are listening? 1 minute, figuring out a procedural thing.
While we're waiting, we need a numerical majority. We need 51%. I've counted 8 abstains, so that brings us under the numerical majority that we need, so we're gonna have to do another round.
Oh, sorry.
What we doing?
So if you have 32 people seated, we'd still need 17. Or what is? Okay, so,
Present.
what? But we just had different rules, I guess, but. Yes. Okay, so we just had
As
third.
a point of personal privilege,
Yes.
can I change my vote to a boss? We can do that. Thank you.
Yes, you may. Okay, we have 32 people present when we voted, and right now we have 15 votes for a boss, 9 for Plettenberg, and 8 abstentions. And we need 17.
As a point of personal privilege, I'd like to change my vote from abstain to a boss.
I didn't vote.
Can I vote?
Okay.
Can I vote because I was here?
Yes, Senator Murray, you were out of the room when I called your name.
I would like to vote for boss.
Okay. We are now at 17 for a boss, 9 for Plettenberg, and 7 abstentions. Okay.
We do a roll call.
Do you want
Let's do another roll call.
Okay, we're going to do another roll call vote, completely revote, procedurally. So, a boss.
Stay.
Bauer.
Boss.
Benzoni. Breitbart.
A boss.
Birch.
Boss.
Doherty.
Boss.
Debates.
Plettenberg.
Fisick.
Boss.
Fitton.
Abstain.
Grenendarova.
A boss.
Herman.
Boss.
Johnson.
A boss.
Kaufman.
A boss.
Kensler.
Pass.
Kearns.
A boss.
Nee.
A boss.
Lang.
Weinberg.
Lund.
A boss.
Merle.
A boss.
Nygaard. Osborne.
A boss.
Peterson.
Pass.
Plettenberg.
A boss.
Schulte. Sharp.
A boss.
Snell.
Abstain.
Talon. Sorry, he's gone tonight, my bad. Turhall.
A boss.
Voss.
Wentworth.
Walsh.
A boss.
Ward.
Weinberg.
Williams.
Plettenberg.
Wolf.
Plettenberg.
Baker.
Weinberg.
Foley.
A boss.
Kensler.
Abstain.
Peterson.
A boss.
With 22 votes for Voss, 8 for Plettenberg, and 4 abstentions, a boss's name fills the blank. Nope.
Hold on, this is just to fill the blank.
I'm just going to fill the bill now. You guys have the faith.
Senator Kensler.
With the blank fill, I'd like to call the question on the bill.
Question has been called and seconded. UC has been called. Is there any objection to UC? This passes. Okay, there's just a joke that was a boss is a boss. And I thought it was awesome, so I just wanted to.
That was actually my Twitter handle for a while.
We're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-016Y, establishing a current Robert rules.
Summary, Senate Bill 2013-2-016Y, title establishing a current revision of Robert's Rules of Order as the parliamentary authority. And as I have the floor, I now motion to postpone this for 1 week. The explanation being that we need a finance bill to support this.
Okay, so that will be, it just needs to be moved and seconded?
Yeah.
It needs a majority. UC was called. Is there any objection to UC to table that bill for 1 week? Okay, that is tabled. We're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-021Y, defining the Senate Parliamentarian.
Senate Bill 2013-2-021Y, titled Defining the Senate Parliamentarian. Since we're on second read, I will yield to the speaker because she has a Rules Committee amendment.
Okay, at this time, I would like to propose the Rules Committee amendment. It does need a second. This is the same for Rules and for Finance Committee's amendments, but we will need to vote on it. I know we have a lot of new senators, but what this bill was essentially doing, or is doing, and you should have this on your computers or in your email in your agenda packet. I believe we have some at the front as well for anyone that doesn't have any. But we, as you've heard actually a little bit tonight and before, we're kind of discussing parliamentary procedure and who should be the one to determine this, and if there should be somebody, you know, what's their role. So traditionally, and what this bill explains, so I'm explaining the bill, traditionally this has been the role of the speaker and the vice speaker. It's been mentioned that maybe someone should be sitting by the chair, but the chair does usually have the final say on that. It's more of an advisory position, just because it does take know-how of Robert's Rules of Orders as well as our bylaws. Our bylaws do have certain motions that you can make that aren't necessarily along with Robert's rules. We kind of have our own traditions as well. So this has just been kind of a traditional role before, so we thought we would make it permanent by putting this into the bylaws. So what I'm getting to now is the Rules Committee amendment, which is to cut the last 3 enacted clauses. So essentially what the bill would do with this is kind of delineate that role, like I said, to the speaker, and then as well as the vice speaker if the speaker's not around. And so this is part of the B there, and then the last 3 enacted clauses are right here. So I would encourage you to look at them. I'm actually going to leave it a little bit to some of the Rules Committee members to explain why as well, but mostly I'm pretty sure some of this, well, I know this had to do with some of the language that was in here as the duties of the speaker being the final arbiter on proper parliamentary procedure. Also, just saying that that's sometimes binding and should not be subject to further appeal. And so I believe that some of our hesitation was that it gave a little bit too much power, especially over the chair and kind of the way that proceedings would work. And so that's why we proposed this amendment. So I'll yield to further committee members to express their opinions as well.
Senator Kensler.
Are we on the amendment?
We are on the amendment.
Can you zoom in just
Yeah.
All right, so unfortunately, the legislation packet for this week does not have this bill. And the reason is because it was in last week's packet. Unless you are looking at the electronic copy, then it probably is. But if you're looking for it in the packet that was just handed out by Speaker Snell, it's not in there. So make sure to read it over carefully. Basically, what we did here was, Speaker Williams is right. We felt that it gave a little too much control to the speaker. In fact, that one of the enacted clauses that says final arbiter, that's the job of the chair of the meeting, and so that's why we decided to cut that. And I think that's basically our rationale behind the 3 things we cut, was because it either gave a little too much power, it went beyond the scope of what the speaker's position is, or it interfered directly with what a chair of the meeting is supposed to do, according to Robert's Rules of Order. And that's all I have to speak on.
Vice Speaker Snell.
I'd like to yield to former Senator Brody and current advisor Brody if he wishes to speak on this, because he was on the Rules Committee and proposed this amendment initially. So if you want to speak, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they said pretty much. I mean, so the last 3 enacted clauses, I think, go above and beyond what kind of is suggested in Robert's Rules for the role of parliamentarian, which is that the parliamentarian is an advisor to the chair. The chair makes a decision, but actually the final arbiter of any Robert's Rules decisions is the body as a whole. You can appeal any decision of the chair as delineated in Robert's Rules, and so that's something that we wanted to maintain, and that's one of the reasons why we made the motion to strike these 3 clauses, because it would take power away from the body to be the final arbiter.
You still have a phone.
I can pose a question to anybody in the room here. Would you like me to read the bill? I mean, I can. Okay.
Oh, Eric.
Yeah.
Actually, I would for new senators.
Okay, unless there's objection. All right. Starting from the top. This is, I'll let you know when we get to the part we're going to cut, which is the second page. So the first page is all good, and it's not being messed with by the amendment. It says, whereas there is sometimes mild confusion regarding parliamentary procedures during Senate meetings, and the body or the chair sometimes seeks counsel on these procedures, and whereas a general desire for defining a parliamentarian has been expressed, and whereas traditionally the Speaker and or Vice Speaker of the Senate has unofficially acted in that role, it's not defined in the bylaws anywhere, be it therefore enacted that under the duties of the Speaker of the Senate, the appropriate section be created in the bylaws to state, act as the parliamentarian with the advice and consent of the Vice Speaker when questions of parliamentary procedure arise, which is traditionally how we do it now. And be it also enacted that the appropriate section be created in the bylaws to state, should the Vice Speaker be unavailable, the most senior member of the Rules Committee shall be consulted, which we often do, which currently is Senator Kensler, who is also former Speaker. And be it also enacted, what?
I was going to say, if I may, that was another part of the confusion, was we didn't know what most senior meant,
Yeah.
whether age or...
We can tweak that.
Yeah. So that's why we cut it.
Be it also enacted that under the duties of the Vice Speaker of the Senate, the appropriate section be created to state, advise the Speaker of the Senate in deciding matters of parliamentary procedure and provide consent in such matters, which again is what we already do. And be it also enacted that the section be created in the bylaws to state, should the Speaker be unavailable, the most senior member of the Rules Committee shall be consulted. And then here's the back page. This is what we're going to cut per the amendment. You guys can vote however you want. Enacted that under the Senate Rules of Order, the appropriate section be created in the bylaws to state, per their duties, the Speaker of the Senate, with the advice and consent of the Vice Speakers, the body bar parliamentarian, and shall be the final arbiter of proper parliamentary procedure in all questions of such nature that shall arise. And be it also enacted that the appropriate section be created to state, should the Speaker and Vice Speaker be unable to reach consensus, the most senior member of the Rules Committee shall be consulted to break the tie. And finally, enacted that the appropriate section be created to state, should any seated member of the Senate make an appeal to the chair regarding the decision of the parliamentarian, the chair has the authority to deny the appeal per the parliamentary authority, or the chair may request that the Speaker poll present members of the Rules Committee on the issue and deliver that body's simple majority opinion to the chair, which at that time shall be binding and not subject to further appeal. Any questions? Since you may not be able to read it.
Are there any questions about that specifically? Okay, Senator Kensler.
Okay, so I'm going to ask if any senator has any questions as far as why we cut it. Really anything on the proposed amendment. If you don't understand something, please speak up now, because once it's cut, it's cut.
President Hughes.
Can you clarify what the amendment is?
Yeah. You want to clarify?
Yes, the final three enacted clauses, do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically the last page.
So the last page is just being cut?
Yes, sir. The first page is, for those of you who are new, the first page just codifies tradition. This is what we've already been doing, and so this doesn't really change anything. But we were getting into the habit of, what's the rule on this? I don't know, what's the rule on this? And it was just, we'd all kind of engage in this little side chatter for a minute trying to decide what the rule was, which is, but you hear a little bit about efficiency, and this is one of these things that we're trying to tune up a little bit. So we're adding into the bylaws.
Senator Griffin.
In the fourth enacted clause, it's still, you talked about confusion on the most senior member, correct?
Yep.
How was that clarified, I guess?
We would be happy to entertain an amendment when we get there.
Yeah,
We're still on the amendment though.
Yep.
Question.
Question was called and seconded. UC has been called on the amendment, meaning that you want to cut the last three enacted clauses. Is there any objection to UC, which is unanimous consent? Okay, the amendment passes. Senator Fitton, we're back on discussion of the bill as a whole.
I will yield to Vice Speaker Snow for that discussion. I will yield to Senator Kensler.
Yes, Senator Kensler.
So how it's defined now, you're right, there's a little vagueness as far as what's defined as the most senior rules committee member. But the way it stands currently is they're only in a advisory capacity. They're not a final arbiter of anything. And so if the chair of the meeting wishes to consult any member of the rules committee, really, they're more than welcome to. Or if they have just one person who they deem as the most senior member, they're more than welcome to that. Or they could go against everything that the rules committee says and rule one way or the other. So that's why I think we loved it.
Senator Fitton, you still have the floor.
I'm gonna move to amend the current bill to strike the 5th enacted clause.
Point of personal privilege, could you read that, if you have that?
That's section 5.4.2.8.1, and then one that speaks about the most senior member.
I'll object to that. Senator Fitton wishes me to explain, I can.
I'll remove my motion, or excuse me, withdraw my motion and yield to Vice Speaker Snell.
Okay, Vice Speaker Snell.
Okay.
So just to clarify for everyone what just happened, because I know it's really confusing. So Senator Fitton was going to make an amendment to take out another part of the bill. Vice Speaker Snell said that he objected. So Senator Fitton said, okay, I'm not going to make an amendment. I want to hear what you have to say about that part of the bill first. So now Vice Speaker Snell's going to talk about it.
This is all part of the hashing the language out part. And this is what can get tedious, but this is important stuff because we want things to be right. So this discussion is good. And what I was going to tell Senator Fitton is the reason I objected to that is because the most senior member language is also in the second enacted clause. So if we cut only that particular enacted clause that you wanted to cut, we would have been leaving the bill on hold. What I would suggest perhaps is perhaps a language that says that the most senior member be appointed by the Rules Committee or something like that, for the specific reason that if we get rid of that, what happens if the speaker, the vice speaker isn't around? Then who does it go to? And then we're back into the same trap of, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Like we've been doing. If you still want to cut it, make the amendment. Not my vote.
Point of information to the chair, there has not been an amendment made, correct? So any
Correct.
discussion, so we're on the bill as a whole?
Yes. Yes.
So refuting or objecting to an amendment would not be in order, correct?
Correct. President Hughes.
I just want to ask a question in terms of, I guess I'll direct the question to primary author, Vice Speaker Snell. Was the use of the language advice and consent intentional, and are you concerned that that will cause any sort of issues with formalizing the process, and if there's a disagreement between the Senate leadership, what that would then entail?
I recognize it as a possibility, and we did discuss it at the Rules Committee. What it comes down to, though, is just basic fundamental trust, that one would hope that the Senate elects people to these seats on purpose, with the idea that they trust whoever holds the office that Gabby and I currently do, that we can amicably resolve the problems. The chair is still the final arbiter of any decision regarding any of the procedure. So really what this does is we see this a lot when we get a new vice president, and as Hillary would be more than happy to let you guys know. She gets dropped into this role, and now she has to all of a sudden be the expert. Now you can ask yourselves, those of you who've been here a while, could you handle that? Could you run the meeting perfectly? So she has to, of course not, the answer is no. So she has to ask, and Katie did it before her, and Jared did it before her, and so on and back and forth down the line. So that's why they ask us, hey, what's the rule? Now she's, as the chair, she still has the final say on what actually happens, as long as it's legal, and that's that. So I think that if there ever was an occasion where Gabby and I were just, gonna go at each other here, Hillary's got the guts to say, you know what, we're gonna do this. So that would be my answer. And then you actually, since it's a yes or no, it's a binary thing, should we do this or shouldn't we do it? It's 2 against 1 or 2 against 1 or however the breakdown comes out to be.
Hey, Spencer.
I'll yield again.
Just to touch on that a little bit too, I think as it was pointed out by our advisor Brody as well, that the final arbiter is the body as a whole, and so we always have the chance to appeal. I mean, like we said, this is an advisory position, and just because we say, well, oh, you know, an amendment needs 2/3 when really it needs a majority, I could be totally wrong. Or no, this is for Robert's rules. That's a bad example. But if I say something, I'm like, oh yeah, Hillary, it's like this, everyone in here has the possibility to say, no, you're wrong, and to appeal the motion. So there really shouldn't be any fuss about it, I guess.
President Hughes, do you have anything further? Senator Lund?
Seeing as this whole confusion is about who is the most senior member of the Rules Committee, I would like to propose an amendment that in the second inactive clause, have the language be changed to the most senior member of the Rules Committee as determined by the chair, and have similar language be repeated in the last inactive clause.
Second.
Does anyone need that amendment repeated? Okay, so we're now on discussion of the amendment. So that's changing the language regarding the most senior member of the Rules Committee. Speaker Williams.
Okay, just to touch on this amendment, I understand why you'd want to kind of tone up the language a little bit, but if this is a senior member that's determined, I guess by the chair, so by sorry, just to ask a question for Benzo, you mean Hillary as in the chair?
It was Senator Lund.
Or sorry, Lund. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Over there.
Yes,
So
the
the chair. Okay, I was thinking the chair of the Rules Committee.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Senator Kensler.
Is he going to clarify that in his amendment?
Yeah, I'll clarify.
Okay.
Senator Fitton.
Is it the author of the amendment's intent to also have that in the fifth enacted clause? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my question would just be here, if this is completely advisory and if the chair's determined either way, why do we need to put it in bylaws? That was why I was going to strike both mentions of the senior member of the committee, because it's completely arbitrary if the chair is going to do that in a manner they see fit.
Senator Voss.
Well, I think of it as, thank you. I see it as a more so, not necessarily for us right now. I mean, right now it works pretty well. Vice President Clutcher is doing a great job even right now running the meeting. And then sometimes she'll ask Vice Speaker Snell and Speaker Williams. But I think if it's in the bylaws, maybe a group down the road, 10 years down the road, they might not know this. You know, it's not on paper. So if it's in paper, I think there'll be a systematic way to maybe reduce the inefficiencies of future GSB meetings. I mean, that's the reason why we write laws. So we think ahead sometimes that it'd be better the roofs down the road. So I do think it's a good idea.
Senator Lund.
Just a point of information, are we still on discussion of the amendment?
Yes.
Will be.
Sorry, I missed that. Senator Kensler.
Sorry.
Senator Ward.
I have a question for Senator Lund. Is it the author's intent to include something as to the effect of when the chair should specify an advisor? Is this going to be every week or at the beginning of the year when it's closed?
This is only when the speaker or vice speaker is unavailable, so they would then turn to whoever they have determined, I guess, on the fly, right? It wasn't really supposed to be it's written in stone, like this person is the most senior member of this committee. It's just whoever they determine to do that.
So, okay. I do.
Senator Kensler.
I think this has been hashed over enough. I'm call the question on the second.
Question has been called and seconded on the amendment. We are now voting on the amendment, which would change the language of the second and fourth enacted clauses. So it would say the most senior member of the Rules Committee shall be consulted as determined by the chair. Do you have a question? Thank you for that clarification. We will now do a placard vote. So, please raise your placard up high for yes if you want this amendment to pass. Down. Placards up for no. Nope. Down. Placards up for abstentions. By a vote of 31 to 3 to 0, the amendment passes. We're now back in discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Finn.
Just going to make this because I like discussion. I guess I shouldn't have voted no necessarily on that last amendment because it's clarifying the language you want to use. I would just, if Senator Voss's argument was that for future senates that they'll need direction on how to operate. If they're inherently going to operate in an advisory role and look for the most senior member of the committee, why are we putting this in bylaws? It just doesn't seem set in stone, and it's going to change from chair to chair on who that is, and then it's not actually going to give any sense of direction, solid sense of direction, which is the intent of bylaws. So at this time, I'm going to move to strike these second and fifth enacted clauses.
As a point of clarification, if I may, when you say the second and fifth enacted clauses, are you saying the second and fifth one down? Because so essentially, it's the second enacted clauses, right? Because there's 3 whereas clauses and then 2 enacted afterwards. So what line are you talking about?
Can you please read the line, Senator Fitton?
The second enacted clause is 541, 14.1.
So the second enacted clause.
Correct. And then,
okay, I got you.
What is the other one, Senator Fitton? Please clarify.
542, 8.1.
Thank you.
Sorry, 4. So that's my motion to strike those enacted clauses.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to strike the second and fourth enacted clauses. We are now on discussion of this amendment and not discussion of the amendment only. Senator Peterson.
So I would urge against this specifically because by doing so, it would then open up the possibility to, well, I guess get the consultant outside of Rules Committee, which can then open the door to a lot of, I don't know, I'm playing favorites, as he said, which I agree with, by the chair, which is what it's explicitly supposed to stop. So I would urge to keep it how it is, keep the person in the Rules Committee where it's not just the people who are supposed to be the ones monitoring the rules and actually knowing the rules. Yeah.
Senator Johnson.
I agree that we should really consider adding something else after this amendment. However, I don't really see how this amendment is going to achieve what you said, given that the authority's already given the chair prior for this last amendment that we passed, the chair to already pick who they're going to be sold. So I don't really see how what you're saying is a thing, even to begin with, honestly. So I would support this amendment, and then we can consider passing something else to have more clarifying language, because I agree that's necessary. I just don't think this is the correct clarifying language. I yield.
Vice Speaker Snow.
On that comment about this, the discounting what the language is based on advisory capacity, I just want to point out that the bylaws, all 44 pages of them are full of positions under advisory nature, from at-large positions on committees to Corey sitting back there, our GSB advisor. We have lots of advisors in the bylaws, so having a Senate officer in an advisory capacity is nothing new.
Senator Kensler.
I may just speak to Senator Johnson's point. If we cut what's being proposed that we cut, then that would make the whole last amendment we just passed useless. So that we'd have to go back and cut that. But I think, speaking to the larger point, I think that it is important that we do have some, I guess, structure past just the speaker and vice speaker, because although it seems like you get far down the line, if one person's gone in that chain of command, say Chair Fletcher is gone, then Speaker Williams moves up, and Vice Speaker Snell moves to be Speaker for the meeting, and then there's nobody after that to fill in his position. It's always just kind of been the most senior member of the Rules Committee, or really anybody who wants the job to sit there passing out amendment sheets. Yeah. So, and we actually did have that happen last year, at least once, I think. Yeah, Senator Bauer did it twice, I know. So it's happened before. So I think we do need to clear it up just a little bit. And I think this does that. So yeah.
Senator Fitton.
That kind of was my point, that that was going to be my point, that it's kind of just tradition. It doesn't really need to be outlined specifically, because I'll give a couple examples real quickly. I've been on Senate for most longer than half of the Rules Committee, and I think I would have a better understanding of how we traditionally operate here in Senate. I know Senator Walsh over there has chaired an organization under Robert's Rules and would also have a stronger understanding of Robert's Rules than possibly half of the Rules Committee. I don't think it's necessarily something that needs to be outlined, especially if that person isn't the most qualified person to do that. Can we just let the chair have the discretion to choose who they think is the most informed person to advise on their action in the meeting? I just think it's redundant and unnecessary. So, yeah.
Senator Voss.
Actually,
Senator Kearns.
Just to kind of go off of what Kyrie said, not to be that horse, but I mean, things have been working fine the way they are. I mean, if Gabby's not here, or if the speaker's not here, the vice speaker's not here, and the chair will just defer to whoever he or she believes knows the most about the rules anyways, and that has worked in the past, and I don't know why, and I think that would be redundant. I think this conversation about that is even being redundant itself, so I don't even know why we're talking about this right now.
Senator Merle.
Okay, I'd like to call the question. Second.
Question has been called and seconded. Is this on the amendment?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, this is on the amendment. The amendment is to strike the second and fourth enacted clauses. We are going to do a placard vote. If you would like to strike those clauses, you will vote yes. If you don't want to, you'll vote no. And if you have a bias for some reason, you will abstain. So, placards up for yes. Up high. Down. Up for no. Down. Up for abstentions. By a vote of 10 to 22 to 2, the amendment fails. We are now back on discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Kensler.
I'm going to real quickly propose an amendment, basically addressing President Hughes' concern with the whole advice and consent line. I think that we should cut the and consent part out and just act in an advisory capacity, simply because I don't want any more bureaucracy added to the whole, well, what if they don't agree? Well, then they have to vote, you know, like that whole issue. So I'm going to cut the and consent out of the enacted clause that is under 54114 and 5428.
Was there a second? Second. Okay, it has been proposed and seconded to cut the and consent portion. We're now in discussion of the amendment. Senator Lund.
I think this is a good amendment, and unless anyone has anything to say.
Please speak loudly so that our clerk can hear.
I will yield.
Senator Peterson. You may.
In the, I guess third enacted clause in 5428.
Can you please speak up?
In the enacted clause 5428, were you striking that entire, and provide consent in such matters, or?
Yes, everything that has to do with consent.
Okay.
Just so that they act in an advisory capacity.
I know that's right.
Yes.
Senator Kearns.
Question. Second.
Question has been called and seconded. We are now voting on the amendment. Yes means you want to strike the and consent portion. No means you don't want to. Abstain means you have a bias. Placards up for yes. Down. Up for no. Up for abstentions. By a vote of 30-0-3, the amendment passes. We are now back on discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Benzoni.
I'd like to motion on the amendment to strike the and be it also at the very end, because that's bothering me a lot.
Okay. We'll just yeah. We're accepting that. Senator Kensler.
I think the bill's been debated, hashed over. I don't see placards up. I go with question.
Second. Question has been called and seconded. We'll now do a roll call vote. Yes means you'd like to pass this and put it into our bylaws. No means you would not like to pass this. These 2/3, right?
Bylaws.
We do need 2/3 of majority to pass this bill. We currently have 33 senators present.
Seated or present?
Is it seated or present for bylaws?
As a point of information, it's actually present. That's what I was communicating.
It's present. Okay. So we have 33 senators.
See what happened there?
We have 33. We have 33 senators present. We need 2/3 to vote yes in order for this to pass. I just want to make that clear. We are now start voting. Abbas.
Yes.
Bauer.
Pass.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Debates.
Abstain.
Pisak.
Yes.
Fitton.
No.
Grenadier-Darova.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Kearns.
Yes.
Nee.
He's bomb.
Lynn.
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
Murrow.
No.
Nygaard.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Peterson.
Pass.
Plantenberg.
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Snell.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Walsh.
No.
Ward.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Foley.
Yeah.
Bauer.
Yes.
That was very deep. Peterson.
Abstain.
By a vote of 28-3-2, this passes. We're now in new business, Senate Bill 2013-2-033F, funding Triathlon Club.
Okay.
Before you start, can I just clarify what new business is, please?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, in new business, we'll read bills for the first time. And the reason that we have new business is so that the bill is read in front of the Senate as a whole, and you have the opportunity to ask questions of intent. So the first night that that bill is read, we don't debate the bill, we don't discuss it. You can just ask the author, is it your intention to have a group present when we vote on this? You'll see, what?
Yes or no?
Right, they're yes or no questions, thank you. And so you just can't ask for explanations, you can only ask things that mean yes or no. And it's a great thing to pay attention to this so that you can talk to your constituents over the next week about a specific bill.
Or come to committee meetings.
Or come to committee meetings. So it just gives you a week to know what you're talking about the next week and get prepared so that you know what you're voting about. And it's also something that you can discuss during office hours. That's all I have to say about new business. So Senator Doherty.
Okay, I'm not going to read it as fast as everybody usually does.
Right?
That's my first bill. Come on.
Jack.
Thank you. Okay.
Senator Doherty, go ahead, please.
Senate Bill 2013-2-033F, titled Funding for Triathlon Club. Whereas the Triathlon Club is growing in numbers due to the success the club has exhibited in recent years. And whereas the club is in need of new equipment, particularly new safety equipment, be it therefore enacted that $5,400 be transferred to the Triathlon Club from the capital projects account pursuant to the following budget. Now what do I do?
The floor is now open for questions of intent.
Oh, I do plan to have a group here next week to present.
Senator Pittman.
As the Finance Committee tabled this bill, is it your intent to have them here next week or just after?
The Finance Committee be here next week? It should be.
Just disregard that question. Are there any further questions of intent?
And now what do I do?
Now you sit down.
You're done.
You did a great job. Senate Bill 2013-2-031F, funding Cows Week.
Senate Bill 2013-2-031F, titled Funding Iowa State University College of Agricultural and Life Science, in other words, Cows Week. Whereas the College of Agriculture and Life Science is one of the world's leading institutions of agriculture, building on 150 years of excellence. The college provides leadership in science.
Object.
Wow. Thank you, Kyrie. Science, education, and research areas vital to the future of Iowa, the nation, and the world. Whereas the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences has been serving students at Iowa State University for 150 years and currently serves over 4,900 students in addition to the many lives it influences through its research. Whereas Cows Week, held every year in October, and this year, October 7th through the 11th, 2013, is a week set aside for all students on Iowa State's campus to celebrate the accomplishments of this great college, Iowa State University. Be enacted that $1,736.16 be allocated to the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences Student Council from the Senate Events account in pursuant of the following budget, and be it therefore enacted that all unused funds be returned to the GSB Senate Events account. I do intend on having a member of the group present at next week's meeting. Are there any other questions of intent?
Vice Speaker Snell.
Do you intend to have Cal's President Swanson present?
At this moment, I have a co-chair of Cows Week coming. I can ask him if he would like to attend.
Senator Peterson.
The authors intend to clarify the disparity in the two numbers between the first enacted and the total at the bottom.
Yep, I've already worked that out with Marion.
Any further questions of intent? Thank you, Senator Kearns. We're now in closing announcements. Senator Bauer.
I have a few things to go over. First, can I direct questions to the finance director?
Yep.
I'm curious as to why Finance Committee keeps tabling bills before they are being read in Senate. I understand that you get them before we get them, but I just like to hear some reasoning.
Our meeting falls within the same legislative week as Thursdays.
Yeah.
Typically, the Finance Committee meetings had been on Mondays in the past, and people would see the Finance Committee before their bill was even first read. So that is still the case. However, since we have changed our meetings to Tuesdays, it is basically required by one of the bills passed last semester that the agenda needs to be put out for basically the ending of my meeting, that it can't be taken off your agenda, or it could be, but really there's no harm in having a first read of a bill that's tabled. It would just be that you cannot proceed to a vote, really, without our committee sending it along. I have no issues with this. If you have issues with this, we can take it up. You can talk about that in rules if you'd like. But I don't see procedurally a problem with this, other than the fact that it's a little bit confusing if you read into it that way. But if you look into it as it's been tabled and will not proceed to a final vote, it can be read here because we can do basically anything we want and talk about whatever we want on the agenda. So.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, sure, I'll leave it to you now.
Okay, so this has been something that I've actually been looking over, and I think it's, even if it's tabled in Finance Committee, it's a lot better for Senate to at least be presented with the bill on the floor, so you know what's going on, what bills there are floating around, instead of, Rules and Finance just saying, oh, well, we're just keeping these bills, and really, if you never asked, how would you know? So that's why I've been putting these on the agenda, not to confuse anybody, but to make you more aware. We'll be talking about being able to table things and hold them in committees as well soon enough. So.
All right, thank you. Also, for many of the new people, having someone speak during an open forum is something very rare that happens here. We don't have many students that come in to talk during open forum. But when people do, this is addressing everyone, when people do come and talk during open forum, please don't be staring down at your computers. That's very disrespectful to people that do have the courage to come in and talk to us. So please give them your full undivided attention when we do have students come during open forum, or any speakers like we do right now, and shut our laptops, that sort of stuff. Also, I forgot to mention, I need bios and goals for the year for the website. Many of you have not sent me those yet. So please get those out to me, because as President Hughes said, we want to have the website fully completed and up and ready to go by next Monday. I know that might be kind of far-fetched for most people, but at least try to give me your bio and your goals for the year by at least a week or so. If you need like something to go off of, there's many people on the website that already have theirs. You can look at mine, you can look at Vice Speaker Snell, or just you'll be able to tell who's on there that has them. If you have any questions, just ask me about that. Last thing, just a reminder, the retreat is Saturday from 11 to, we'll just say 5 p.m. We'll meet in the gallery room at 11. Lunch will be roughly 12 or 12:30. I can't quite remember what time it is. And then we'll go from there. Like I said, we really do need to have everyone attend that is able to attend. Just don't wake up Saturday morning and decide, oh, I don't want to go to the retreat anymore. I don't feel like it. Please don't do that, because in order for it to be effective, we need to have everyone present that is able to be there. So I know I said I had 3 or 4 people tell me that they're not able to be there, so I assume I'll be seeing all of you on Saturday. And that is it. I'll yield.
Vice Speaker Snow.
May I address a question to Senator Bauer?
You may.
You said that President Hughes wants the bios done when?
He wants to have the website up and ready by Monday.
Everything needs to be ready by Monday, or it will not be displayed anymore until it is ready.
Does that then include yours?
It does.
That was great.
See what I did there?
Senator Kensler.
I would just like to welcome all the new senators. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. If you have any questions on anything, whether it be procedural, how our rules work, where do we find this, where do we find that, who's who, please ask. I'm more than willing. I know our leadership's more than willing. And yeah, should be a great year. I yield.
Election Commissioner Gunther.
All right, so as Vice President Fletcher said, my name is Adam Gunkel. I'm the Election Commissioner. Just wanted to introduce myself since I know you, a lot of you were seated tonight. I really haven't given like an update to the elections like I usually did. So our first meeting was this Monday. We had 4.5 people there. One of them isn't staying, so I don't count roll. So that brings up the point that in order for us to change the election code, we do need about 3-4 people to get back on the election commission. So applications are still available on the website, or you can have me email them, or you can email them. But they were due September 30th, before our 30th meeting at 7 p.m. So I really look forward to all of you participating in trying to recruit people for my election commission. I thank you ahead of time. The second thing is I'm meeting this Friday around lunch with Judy Minnick in the registrar's office to start collecting the data for apportionment. I should have that done in 2 weeks, so you should be all excited. I met with the speaker and vice speaker, Barry and Gabby, with the respective residence councils on the districting campus now. So hopefully it will not be the entire side of West Ames. So I'm optimistically happy with what our meeting turned out with. So the take-home message you can is try to stack my election commission with your friends so that I have people to hang out with, and bore myself with people I put on there last year. So I would love some fresh blood. So fight it for me and have them applied. It's the deadline is in 2 weeks from this Monday. So, all right, thanks.
Senator Lang, do you have a question?
I had a question for election commissioner. What's the time commitment for this? 'Cause I've been trying to recruit my roommates since you asked me.
The time commitment is very minimal. I'm very needy and hands-on, so I don't let people do a lot, but it is roughly a two-hour commitment at most on any given week. We have a 1-hour meeting on Mondays from 7 to 8 and MU 2210. And then I usually give them homework. So whether it's recruit, like this week's homework was to recruit people for the election commission. So I gave them 3 applications that they had to give out. I hope none of them threw them away. But usually it's like go read chapter 12 for next week. We'll talk about it. Go read section 3 of the election code. We'll talk about it next week. So it's roughly one hour in the meeting, 1 hour outside of the meeting.
Are there any further questions for the election commissioner? Cool. Senator Kearns.
All right, yeah, earlier I mentioned in my UA report about approaching risk management and trying to fix some of the things that they've been doing, because obviously everyone's heard complaints about that. I myself have met with 2 groups individually for their cases individually, but please feel more than welcome, and I would encourage all of you, if you've had any personal interactions yourself or you know groups have, please send them my way. I'd like to have as much information about problems that students have had when we go to meet with them, so that we can bring all problems to them at once instead of going through things and then realizing that we need to go back to them and fix something else. So I encourage everyone here to speak with your constituents within your own councils, whatever that may be, your friends that are on a lot of clubs, and find out what problems they've had with risk management.
Senator Pitt. Senator Johnson.
May I address a question to Senator Bauer?
You may.
So you mentioned the bios and the goals. For those of us who never wound up having our pictures taken last spring, what is the procedure at this point? I can't think of really one, that's the only reason I'm bringing it up now.
I will most likely be doing pictures, let's plan with next week, that if you don't have an individual picture, this goes for Senate and Cabinet, I'll be doing them before Senate next week.
How about at the retreat?
And if you really want to I mean, if you want.
Yeah, no mustache now.
Senator Ward. Order, please. Senator Ward.
May I direct a question to Senator Bauer?
You may.
What's the attire for the retreat?
Just whatever.
Casual.
Yoga pants?
What?
Yoga pants?
I won't be wearing them, but you
Thank God.
Did I not go?
Okay. Senator Fitton.
First of all, I want to apologize for being late. I helped host Eugene Robinson, the Pulitzer Prize winner, who was the guest speaker for the Chamberlain Lecture this evening. I am happy I was able to make it because that means I am still 30 straight weeks of Senate attendance in some form in my entire career here as a student, so that's a nice point of pride. I was late, but I was here. That's all that matters.
Sure,
I do want to let the Senate know real quick, I did contact former Senator and House Council President Swanson, and he said he will do his best to attend next week, as insufferable as we are. Next, I want to mention a couple things happened last night. I attended, along with Vice President Fletcher, Senator Ward, and Cabinet Member Harvey, a City Council workshop last night on Greek rental housing inspections in the code. Along with that, I have my own personal opinions, but a lot of you here are Greek, a lot of your constituents are Greek, and I think this is a pretty big issue that's facing the community, as was evidenced by a couple hundred members showing up to the City Council chambers last night. I'd like just first of all to hear all of your opinions on that, so if you could contact me the next week along with your constituents about that, I'd be happy to hear about that. You'll probably see a resolution on the floor in the next couple weeks. Second of all, I want to commend Webmaster Gerlich and the Executive Cabinet on an excellent website. I really think they deserve some commendation on that. It's the best it's ever looked in my time here as a student. And then lastly, for the new senators, I want to invite you to Finance Committee if you are ever available. We meet on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock, and rooms are usually changed throughout the week because our reservations have changed. It's a good way to get involved with the process to see it before it comes to Senate, because it's the most confusing thing when it comes here and you see senators do opposite of what Finance Committee wants to happen. So if you see the process that goes on committee, you'll be much more informed when you come to Senate on Wednesdays. The last point I wanted to make is I had a nice conversation with Vice Speaker Snell yesterday. After some frustrations after the meeting last week and just generally looking forward to the future of GSB, I'd like to leave some words, just personal words and thoughts in the minds of everyone here.
Point of order, please.
Thank you. I, for the first time in my career here as a student, got frustrated last week at a Senate meeting, visibly outright frustrated at the process we had. And for anyone who knows me, I really enjoy being nerdy and coming to the Senate every week, and this is really a process I enjoy. And that made me think a little bit and led to the conversation with Vice Speaker Snell about the usefulness of what we do here and our roles as students, first and foremost, and second of all, as a representative of our constituents. And so one thing I'd like to leave on the minds of everyone here is that we mentioned people coming for open forum. And I want you to think about if you would object to someone considering or debating a bill if it were students standing here at open forum or during a bill. And if you wouldn't object then why would you do it for a senator, anyone sitting here at these tables who are also students as well? And so I think as we look forward, we have to really consider the role we play as students. Yes, we have a limited box to work with in student government. There's no doubt about that. But I think the way we activate ourselves and the people around us to care about the issues that matter to us. There are 33,000 people at this university. There's crowding on Cyrite buses in the dorms. You see it every day. The MU is packed over the noon hour. There are real issues we can be working on. And if you're not here to move Iowa State University forward for us to progress as a student body on those issues, I really ask you to reconsider why you're sitting here right now. So as we move forward from this point, I'm recommitting my efforts to really get involved with the student body, to be understanding of everyone here. If you ever have any issues, I tell this to my fraternity brothers who gossip as much as the next person, to come individually seek me out and have those conversations, because that's where we can best resolve the issues we have individually and move forward. I really want to thank, especially the new senators, for taking on this task. For us lifers, it really is nice to see fresh blood. And we, as election commissioner Gunther did say, and I won't say for all of you, but in the past we have taken our cast lots on the over or under on how long some of you will stay, so please prove us wrong. And I will say just thank you once again for coming here and just to consider what I had laid out before us tonight.
Point of order. Order, actually, order.
There you go.
Thanks.
Again.
Senator Doherty.
I just want to say to new people, if you really want to learn about the people on GSB that are already here or know what's going on, please hang out in West Sauce You will learn more there than you'll probably learn in the meetings. You'll learn some things you don't want to learn. It's a good time. Seriously, if you guys want to get more in touch with who's here, come. It'd be fun. I'm there all day.
Senator Burrell.
Don't let these people scare you. Like, there's great opportunities with GSB, and I don't personally take any bets on how long any of you will stay. I trust that you will enjoy it as much as all of us have, and will want to stay around longer than
We'll see, he was estimating.
Or
Senator Blankenberg.
May I address a question to Senator Morrell?
You may.
If a new senator wanted to purchase one of your t-shirts, how much would they be and and can you display it again in case people have forgotten about it?
put it back in the box.
Yeah.
They're $13 a piece. They're great. Seriously.
Can you please put the shirt on?
Talk to me if you want it. $13.
So we should ask you about the GSB shirt.
Sure, do it. I will answer about GSB. I'll put on a shirt.
Thank you, Senator Blankenberg. Clerk of the Senate, Pendroy.
Okay, to all the new people, hi, I'm the clerk. I get to take all the minutes. It's a nice, fun job. So first of all, I want to say hi, welcome. Second, I want to say I will be sending out the minutes after the meetings. It usually depends on how great the minutes are as to how late I send them out. I sent out the minutes for this last week, yesterday, I think. So, but I mean, there was 15 pages, so that was a long time. Be sure to look over. There's a lot of things in there that maybe you dozed off and spaced off. You missed a lot. So definitely look at the minutes. If you plan to object to my minutes, like Mr. Fitton usually does, just be sure to email me what your objections are so I can get those fixed as soon as possible. My email is zpendroy@iastate.edu. Pretty simple. Otherwise, I'm usually in West Sauce. Thank you, Mr. Doherty, for bringing that up. I live in West Sauce. I'm there more than Mr. Fitton, Mr. Hughes, anyone else. So you can always come in there, find me. I did help Mr. Doherty write a bill the other day, so you can always come to me and talk to me about writing bills. Yeah, good times. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a few things that I want to touch on. I was in your shoes for the new senators, I was in your shoes not very long ago, so I know it's really overwhelming, but don't be afraid to ask questions and speak up during meetings. Like, I've totally just blubbered during the Senate meeting before, and that's fine. I mean, you're here to learn, you're here to help students and make it a great experience. University committees, there's over 50 university committees that I appoint student representatives to. There's approximately 15 openings still available that I'm working to fill right now. If you're interested in serving on a different level, so working with faculty and staff and representing students, please let me know. I'm around. You'll find me. And finally, for the retreat, attire is casual. The one thing I will mention is that our advisors will be there as well, and one of our advisors is the Dean of Students, Dr. Anthony. So please keep in mind that although it is casual attire, don't go too casual, because I mean there's still just a level of professionalism that we should present at all times. And other words about the retreat, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I really hope that you all come. It's going to be a great opportunity to build relationships, ask questions, and get ready to be effective this year. So that's all I have about that. And President Hughes.
Okay, thanks. I'll keep this brief. I just want to, since we're on a new senator run tonight, I just want to encourage all the new senators out there, come say hi. I want to meet you all. I remember when I was seated as a new senator as a freshman in September of my freshman year, all the way back in 2010. And so now, things, you can move up sometimes, a little bit at least. So also I just want to mention, since I forgot to mention this last week and earlier this week, but my challenge to the Facebook and Twitter like/follower count It's not going so well. We haven't gained a whole lot. But I will say this: Facebook is winning by 8 currently. It's 760 to 752. So I would say keep up the good work, but it hasn't been that great. So
We're starting at 500.
the goal is to get to 1,000 before the end of the semester. We'll see if we can do it.
Director of Communications Lancer, do you have something to add about social media? Please do so.
Just on that note, I'll be checking for everyone that likes our Facebook and follows our Twitter and sending an email to those that do not do either or one or the other. So be prepared for that. I do have a system to check that very quickly.
Senator Bauer.
I will be doing the same. So.
You guys didn't know we had an NSA branch, did you?
Now you know, surprise. Order, please.
Order.
FDR, do you have something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's rock and roll.
Again, welcome to all the new senators. For the returners, you might remember the whole question challenge of the week thing. Bringing that back, because I think it's important as my role as an officer of the Senate to not only bring you my 2 cents earlier in the meeting, but also my 2 cents now, and ask you whether we're addressing the most challenging issues that we can. I feel like sometimes the things we get into from day to day are kind of small, which is good, but I think sometimes we can think bigger. That's something I'm going to challenge everyone to do, is to find the biggest things we can tackle in our time, because we only have so much. I sat as a new senator 3 years ago, and it's kind of strange to think of all the things that you can do with this organization. I know Barry gave a great speech about it earlier, so I'm not going to rehash it, but you'd be surprised at all the connections that GSB has and all the things that you can do in this organization. So, by all means, I know a little bit about GSB, so feel free to approach me if you have any questions about funding. We can talk about that at length if you've got a week. But with that, welcome, and good meeting, guys.
Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.
Vice Speaker Snell.
Thank you. I think Dan and I have a wave in the air tonight. We're kind of on the same wavelength. And I was laughing at you, Dan, not because of anything you said, but because both you and Spencer, like way back in 2010 or whatever the hell, I was here in 1998. So I go back a long way. I'm older than I am you. Now that you new folks have had your first meeting and you can see what it's like, this is a short one and you didn't do too much that was substantive, but we'll get there. And after you heard my pontification at the beginning of the meeting, I just want to put in your minds before you go that over the course of the next week, consider what kind of committee involvement you want to be in, because that's where it starts. We come here to finalize everything that is stuff that's already been moving. Things that have already been rolling along, we come here to make the final vote. All the work is done outside of here. They're done in the committees, whether they're our own standing committee, and for the new folks, we have the Rules Committee, the PR Committee, the Finance Committee, and we have the UA Committee, University Affairs. And then, as Vice President Kletcher pointed out, we have about 50 university committees. A lot of them are full right now, but that doesn't mean you can't go either. Excuse me. It doesn't mean you can't go either. And if you want to make those connections that I was talking about before, if you want to get to know Jamie Pollard, if you want to get to know Stephen Lee, if you want to get to know Warren Madden or anybody, the university committees are where it's at. And more so than even our own standing committees. You heard a lot of different examples tonight of problems that we're facing. As Dan said, consider, are we doing the greatest good here? Are we doing the best we can? Are we tackling the largest issues that we possibly can? And you heard a handful of them here just in discussion, right? Director Pollard was talking about crowding for Senator Johnson's question. That's something we can actually get in on a conversation on. We can be a part of that. The bus stop that Senator Kearns mentioned, that's something that we can take care of. We don't have to have a mud hole. We can get involved. We can change that. Maybe it's not a sexy project, but it is nonetheless progress. It is a good project. The risk management thing. I have personally had a conversation with Vice President Warren Madden. He's probably the most powerful guy on campus, even more so than the president. He knows everything. He knows where the bodies are buried. And this cemetery, by the way. Yes, in the cemetery. No, that was no point of order there. That's good. So we have had this discussion. We started this discussion. Until you find out, you don't know where the university's at. When I brought this up to Warren Madden, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is getting terrible." You know, he knows the hoops that we have to jump through. He knows that we have problems. All we got to do is get together. All we got to do. The committees are valuable. Take your own initiative too. Just walk over to Beardshire and go in and talk to the secretary and say, "I want to talk to Warren Madden." You can do it. I am a GSB senator. That carries weight. It sounds silly, and I know sometimes we get self-important. And I know any student can go in and talk to the administrators, but to say, I am Senator Snell, or I am Finance Director Radiski, I am Vice President Kletcher, it gets you, the door opens a little farther. Use it. Do something with it. And I will see you guys next week. Oh, no, actually, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, okay, I'll see you this weekend.
Speaker Williams.
Okay. Well, if you guys don't feel welcomed, then I don't know. What? Welcome to all the new senators. Actually, so while we are talking about new senators, I want to do, I don't know if Richard is back there, but our advisors, we'll introduce you maybe next week, but Corey's back here. And Corey, say hi, Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Yeah, well, either way, both ways. And Richard's back there. These guys stick around our meetings all the time, and they're so helpful. Please go and talk to them. What?
On his anniversary.
Yeah, he stuck around on his anniversary. But just still giving a crap for it. But they're awesome too. Let's see. I guess everyone's given their speeches, so give mine. No. But I'm actually really impressed with Senate. Hillary Kletcher, Vice President Kletcher, and I got to go to the president's class, and it's a leadership president's class, and we had a lot of people who were freshmen coming and talking to us and asking what GSB was and what our leadership was and why do we love GSB so much. And I just couldn't stop talking about it, actually. And it's the same stuff that I think we said that we've heard over and over again tonight. And so one thing that's really cool about having all of you guys here is that we can do this and kind of give you our little 2 cents about what it's like to be a senator. And I never got that when I was a senator, and I don't think many senators got that at all. So please don't take this for granted. This much of a welcome isn't something that's going to happen in every Senate meeting. So I'm glad it happened right now. But we'll definitely keep going over what procedures are for things, because one thing that hasn't happened in the past is this sort of welcoming and is this sort of, hey, this is what we're doing. You don't have to be all about the acronyms and stuff. We'll catch you up to speed. So you guys will catch on really quickly, and please come down to the West Student Office space, because that is the best way to know the good, bad, and the ugly about everything GSB is those are where the bodies are buried, is down there.
Under the painting.
Under the, yeah. Let's see. I don't know. I do appreciate everyone speaking up in open forum. That is definitely the place that if you have concerns as a student, or I guess as a senator as well, that's definitely the forum that I would appreciate it be done. As Senator Voss pointed out, tensions are cooler and you have time to think about what you'd like to say. In that respect, please be respectful to Senate as well. One of my goals that will be on the GSB website eventually is to keep our language in here very, not overly positive, but just don't be self-defeating. Our meetings are long, yeah, but they take as long as it takes to get the job done. We have contentions and we have discussions, but that's what makes us so awesome. You have to go out and do things in this organization. Go figure. These are good things. This is why you guys are here. I think I've actually been asked why we had so many senators being seated tonight. you know, why are there so many? Did people just drop out? Is it that bad? No. It's one, probably because people had time commitments, and two, it's a big responsibility. What you're doing now is a big deal. You don't just represent yourself on Wednesday nights, you represent students. And we could go on and on about this, but I think you guys know, especially hanging around new senators for an hour with us, we've kind of gone over this a lot. But this position is a very cool position to be in for all of the reasons that all of these very passionate senators and other leadership have expressed tonight. And so I hope you feel really excited to be a part of it, because we're very excited to have you guys here too. And so I'd just like to thank everybody for this meeting, and I think we'll do some really, really cool things. So please get out there and do something with somebody and talk and all of that good stuff. And so with that, I will move to adjourn.
Second. UC was called. Any objections to UC? Meeting is adjourned.